Empire of Steel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Capture. Someone assassinated Her Royal Highness. We are hunting. The golden armor said loudly. Lu Fei said in shock, who is so bold to assassinate Her Royal Highness Princess? Come and go with me to take down the assassin. After all, Lu Fei took a group of knights and followed the golden-armored soldiers to the direction of Wang Zhuan's escape. At the same time, Lu Fei sent someone to inform Xiaoming the golden-armored soldier did not suspect him, so he rode his horse and ran wild again, with Lu Fei following behind them. Their encounter with the golden-armored soldier was naturally part of the plan. The key to this plan is that they capture Wang Zhuan and detain him in the Kingzhou prison. Otherwise, if these golden soldiers capture Wang Zhuan, wouldn't they have to peel off his skin? And at that time, Wang Zhuan might not be safe. Not long after, a fork in the road appeared in front of them, and the golden-armored soldier said, Xiao Lu, you and I are hunting separately. If you catch an assassin, please let me know. It's natural. After saying that, Lu Fei led the Kingzhou army to pursue a fork in the road, while the golden-armored soldiers went along the other road. After galloping for a while, Lu Fei suddenly stopped in front of a small forest. At this time, he said, Wang Zhuan, come out. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Zhuan walked out of the woods with 12 people. Wang Zhuan said, Xiao Lu, my life will be handed over to you. Lu Fei dismounted and walked in front of Wang Zhuan, in order not to make the princess suspect. I offended you. After speaking, Lu Fei punched Wang Zhuan in the face, then drew a knife and slashed Wang Zhuan's arm. Cough, you are cruel. Wang Zhuan grinned in pain. Lu Fei smiled helplessly. This is also what His Highness ordered. Wang Zhuan thought that as long as he could take revenge, the pain was nothing, and then he said, what about them? Lu Fei swept his eyes and followed the secret guard beside Lu Fei and said, there are enough death row prisoners in Kingzhou prison to replace them. Wang Zhuan nodded, and King Qi's work was still watertight. Time was pressing, and the two of them didn't have much. Lu Fei escorted Wang Zhuan to Kingzhou City. When he was about to reach the gate of the city, he sent someone to look for the golden-armored soldiers and informed them that they had caught the assassin. Xiaoming was assassinated first, and now Princess Pingyang is encountered again in this Kingzhou City, and Kingzhou City is suddenly full of turmoil after learning that the assassin was caught. Princess Pingyang and Yu Yangmu entered Kingzhou City overnight, and nephew said that this Kingzhou City is not peaceful. If you could follow your nephew's advice, there would be no such thing today. Last year, nephew was also assassinated in the main hall of Prince Qi's mansion. Xiaoming looked like he was bitter. Princess Pingyang was in shock. The assassination came too suddenly, and she believed that she had no enemies in Kingzhou City. The first possibility she thought of was Xiaoming. She was worried that Xiaoming knew that the purpose of his trip was impure, so he deliberately arranged the assassination. After all, Xiaoming's character as a demon king in the past was known to everyone, and no one could guess what he was going to do. What will be done in one step? Just looking at Xiaoming's appearance now, it doesn't seem like it. Is Royal Highness, please hand over the assassin to a certain family, and a certain family will tear him to pieces. Yang Mu said bitterly. Xiaoming said sternly, General Yang can't be reckless. He didn't find out who ordered him. Her Royal Highness is still very dangerous now. What clues does King Qi have now? Princess Pingyang asked calmly. After hesitating for a while, Xiaoming said with guilt, it's still my nephew's oversight of this matter, but the assassin who killed my aunt this time was a member of the royal family of Kingzhou. This person is called Wang Zhuan, and he is Wang Chengchao's nephew. What? Princess Pingyang was shocked. Yang Mu said angrily, I knew that the father and son of the Wang family were not good things. The Wang family must have lost face at the banquet and deliberately intimidated Her Royal Highness, otherwise these people would not have retreated with a single blow. Princess Pingyang's expression was complicated. Her eyes kept rolling, as if to judge that Xiaoming's words were somewhat true. In her opinion, a local noble family in Kingzhou would not have the courage to assassinate the princess. She said, King Qi, since this is the case, can this person confront the father and son of the Wang family? Of course it's okay. My nephew will take down the Wang family and his son now. Xiaoming said Princess Pingyang is not an easy person to get rid of. He knew that she would definitely not believe it casually. Yang Mu, you should follow along too. Be sure to capture the Wang family and their son. Princess Pingyang said casually. Wang family courtyard at this time, Wang Shiji and Wang Chengchao had just received the news that Princess Pingayang had summoned them. Dad, I didn't expect you to guess it right. In the future, with a princess as a backer, this King Qi is nothing. Wang Shiji said excitedly. I will no longer have to pretend to be pleasing. Wang Chengchao stroked his beard lightly and said triumphantly, compared to the prestige of Her Royal Highness in front of the Emperor, this King Qi is far worse. In the future, if Xiaoming wants to touch our royal family, he has to ask the princess and the Emperor whether they will answer. After speaking, the two laughed. Master, just when the two were complacent, the housekeeper of the palace suddenly ran over. What's the matter? Looking like he's lost his soul. What a formality. Wang Chengchao said angrily. No, Lord. Outside, a large number of soldiers in golden armor came outside, and, golden armored soldier? It seems that Her Royal Highness has sent someone to pick us up. Wang Shiji interrupted the butler's words and strode out. Although Wang Chengchao was scheming, he was a little out of balance at this time. When Xiaoming replaced Liz Heng, he could see that Xiaoming's many measures were clearly suppressing the influence of wealthy families in Lizhao. Combining the scenes from the past, he confirmed this even more, but at that time he was blinded by the interests in front of him, and he didn't think deeply. It's just a pity that the Qin family and the Wang family are already like enemies at this time, and there is no possibility of cooperation. On this point, he has to admire Xiaoming's foresight. So after he came to understand, he continued to do business with Xiaoming calmly while looking for a backer, but he didn't expect the opportunity to come so soon. Following Wang Shiji, he also walked out, but before he took a few steps, his expression suddenly changed. I saw the King's Hao army in silver armor followed closely behind the golden armored soldier, and Lu Fei was among them. Father, what's going on? Wang Shiji was stunned seeing Wang Shiji. Yang Mu immediately turned red, kicked Wang Shiji's stomach fiercely, and said angrily, take these two thieves for me. Lu Fei beckoned, and the King's Hao soldiers behind him rushed up immediately. Wang Chengchao's face was ashen. He never imagined that such a thing would happen anyway. He asked inexplicably, Xia Aoilu, why is this? Don't worry Wang Yuanwei, you will know soon. Lu Fei said lightly. Chapter 102 Going the Opposite Way. On the second day, King's Hao prison. Xiaoming took Princess Pingayang to personally interrogate the father and son of the Wang family. At this time, Xiaoming asked Lu Fei to lift Wang Zhuan out of the prison and meet with the Wang family in the King's Hao government office. Xiaoming sat on the main seat, and Princess Pingayang sat on the side. Wang Chengchao, Wang Shiji, both of you are guilty. In the government office, Wang Shiji and his son, Wang Zhuan, knelt on the ground at the same time. Wang Chengchao was in the shock of seeing Wang Zhuan. He came back to his senses and looked at Xiaoming. His Royal Highness, what is the fault of the grass people? His Royal Highness the Princess, my father and son are really wronged. Wang Shiji kept kowtowing, and the two now knew that they were involved in Wang Zhuan's assassination of the princess. At this point, Wang Chengchao already understood that Xiaoming finally took action against the Wang family. He smiled bitterly in his heart, but he did not expect that the arrival of the princess would become a reminder to their Wang family. Both of you said you were wronged, so do you know this person? Princess Pingayang asked in a solemn voice. Wang Chengchao looked at Wang Zhuan, who had been tortured, and knew that he could not deny the fact at this time, so he said, I know, this person is Wang Zhuan. He is Kaoman's nephew, but he violated the laws of King's Hao 3 months ago. Kaoman was beaten to death, and Kaoman doesn't know why he's still alive. When he said this, Wang Chengchao looked at Xiaoming. King Qi, is there any such thing? Pingayang asked. Xiaoming nodded. That's true. Wang Yuanwei once said that the Wang family's private storage of farming cattle was done by this person, but his nephew thought that he was a local big family in the Wang family, so he let him deal with it by himself. As for what Wang Yuanwei would do with it, his nephew would. It's not clear. Princess Pingayang was accustomed to intrigue in Chang'an City. This Wang Zhuan was not favored by the Wang family, so how could he be so daring to hide the cattle in this case? Wang Zhuan is obviously a scapegoat, and Wang Chengchao is trying to confuse Xiaoming by accusing Wang Zhuan of the crime. If it was another vassal king, it is estimated that even if Wang Chengchao's crime was to be cured, Xiaoming did not care about it. Obviously he had some scruples in his heart. From this, it can be seen that the Wang family is really bold in King's Hao. Originally, she didn't believe that the Wang family would do this, but now her thoughts are a little loose. A local noble family has such contempt for the dignified son. What about her princess? This noble family, after thinking for a while, Princess Pingayang said sternly, you don't know why he's still alive, does this palace know? A small noble family is so bold. Do you really think I am so easy to bully the Dae royal family? Xiaoming, assassinating Ben Guang. What is the crime? If it is true, when the whole family is slashed, the 9 clans will be involved. Xiaoming said softly. Wang Chengchao was stunned. What he said just now was aimed at Xiaoming, not at Princess Pingyang. He said anxiously, Your Highness Princess, Kaomin really doesn't know how Wang Zhuan is still alive, and this Wang Zhuan is my second brother. If I want to assassinate the princess, how can I let him go, and the bastard born of a slut? Besides, what is the benefit of the Grassman assassinating the princess to my royal family? Please also ask Your Highness the princess to learn from it, and don't be used by others. At this moment, Wang Zhuan, who was lying on the ground, coughed violently and said hoarsely, Your Highness, I do things alone, and I do things alone. This matter has nothing to do with the Wang family, but was ordered by King Qi to do it, in order to get rid of the Wang family. Xiaoming's expression changed greatly, and he said angrily, It's full of nonsense. How could this king instruct you to assassinate my aunt? Your Highness, although I am not favored in the Wang family, I am also a member of the Wang family. How could I harm the Wang family so much? You. Xiaoming pointed at Wang Zhuan, arrogant thief. Where's Lu Fei? The end is here. Lu Fei responded, serving with a big punishment. I see whether he is telling the truth or not. Xiaoming jumped and became furious. This sudden change made Princess Pingyang a little overwhelmed, and Yu Yangmu also looked strange, but Wang Chengchao's face was ashen at this time. I've heard of Wang Yuanwei's resourcefulness, and today's trick is really wonderful. Princess Pingyang seemed to have come to a realization after a brief stupor. She walked up to the father and son of the Wang family and said, Although I am in Chang'an, I have some understanding of King Zhao. In the past 5 years, your Wang family has regarded themselves as the local clan, and did not take King Qi seriously. Now I see King Qi working hard to rule. I was afraid that King Qi would liquidate your royal family in the future, so I took advantage of this palace to go to King Zhao, and stage this bitter plan, in order to frame King Qi and let the emperor remove King Qi's vassal king. Your royal family can be safe, no worries, right, His Royal Highness? This is absolutely not the case. This Wang Zhuan is talking nonsense. Wang Chengchao was hoarse when Wang Zhuan framed King Qi. He knew it was over. If Wang Zhuan insisted that the Wang family did it, Princess Pingyang would still suspect that Xiaoming was secretly instigating it, but this Wang Zhuan is now insisting that it is the king of Qi. With Princess Pingyang's wisdom, he will only think too much and become self-defeating. In the end, he believes that it is the Wang family who did it. HMPH, you also said hey, and you also said bye, so I ask you whether what Wang Zhuan said is true or false. Princess Pingyang snorted. Wang Shiji was so frightened that his limbs went limp. If convicted, he could not escape death. He shouted, Your Highness Princess, what Wang Zhuan said is the truth. This matter has nothing to do with my Wang family. Shut up. Wang Chengchao was shocked and angry, and pushed him to Wang Shiji. Wang Shiji was also anxious, and shouted to Wang Chengchao, Father, we didn't do this in the first place. It must be King Qi who framed us. Wang Zhuan is right. He is also a member of the Wang family and will not harm us. There was a smile on Xiaoming's mouth, and there was no need to say more about this matter at this time. Yang Mu said to Princess Pingyang, His Royal Highness, it is obvious that the father and son of the Wang family are lying. How could a person who was almost beaten to death by Wang Chengchao still speak for them? The only explanation is that Wang Zhuan was originally the secret chess of the Wang family. Zhuan and their father and son are actually the same raccoon dog. Just to frame the king of Qi. Princess Pingyang nodded, turned her head and asked Xiaoming, King Qi, what do you think of this? And, if you have an accident in your nephew's fief, no matter who did it, with the character of the father and emperor, I am afraid that my nephew will inevitably be deprived of the throne of the vassal king. Although my nephew is stupid, it is not so stupid. Xiaoming said lightly, What's the benefit to me of assassinating my aunt? Auntie trusts you. Princess Pingyang looked at the father and son of the Wang family. Since that's the case, the Wang family will be handed over to you. Yang Mu, come and help King Qi. Thank you, Auntie. Xiaoming squinted at Wang Chengchao and Wang Shiji. Wang Shiji's words just now betrayed the thoughts in the hearts of the father and son of the Wang family. Chapter 103. The light in the King Zhao prison was dim, and Princess Pingyang's final words made Wang Chengchao lose the last glimmer of hope. He laughed miserably and said, Your Highness Princess, I, Wang Chengchao, can swear to heaven that this assassination has nothing to do with my Wang family, but King Qi, planned it. Wang Chengqiao pointed his finger at Xiaoming, with deep hatred in his eyes. He hated, wished that he would kill him 3 years ago after receiving a hint from King Wei. Unfortunately, it was too late now. He did not expect Xiaoming to grow up so fast, nor did he expect Xiaoming to be so decisive, trying to eradicate the Wang family when the foundation was unstable. You bastard. When you are about to die, you will frame King Qi. Princess Pingyang said sharply, will you believe your nonsense when this palace is? Yang Mu stepped forward at this time, a flash of swordlight flashed, and Wang Shiji fell to the ground in panic. Shiji. Wang Chengqiao shouted sadly, but what he saw was Wang Shiji's dead eyes. Wang Chengqiao's eyes were red. Xiaoming, Wang Chengqiao, lost. I should have obeyed the words of King Wei and killed you 3 years ago. Haha, it's just that I thought you were useful at that time and could help our Wang family grow in King Zhao. I didn't expect that it is now a problem to raise tigers, but with the King Zhao army, do you think you can easily destroy my Wang family? As soon as Wang Chengqiao said this, Princess Pingyang's expression changed greatly. Yang Mu, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for him to talk nonsense again? His Royal Highness, what are you doing so nervously? I heard that Her Royal Highness and King Wei are very close. Do you also know that King Wei is going to assassinate King Qi? Wang Chengqiao laughed frantically. His royal family was about to be destroyed. How could he make Xiaoming feel better, and the royal family of the Great Yu Kingdom better? Wang Chengqiao's words made Xiaoming's expression suddenly change. He looked at Princess Pingyang, and, can Wang Chengqiao's words be true? Minger, this person was confusing right and wrong just now. Do you still believe what he said now? This Wang family is guilty of heinous crimes. This time, this palace must not be around him. Princess Pingyang said angrily, my nephew believes what my aunt said. As the saying goes, when a person is about to die, his words are good. He believes that Wang Chengqiao is not talking nonsense at this time. It seems that the fact that King Wei wants to kill him is true, but does his aunt know? He couldn't be sure. However, this Wang Chengqiao obviously wanted to take a back seat before he died, but in this way, Princess Pingyang would not forgive Wang Chengqiao at this time. Yang Mu raised his sword and was about to cut it down again. At this time, Xiaoming stopped him and said, and, Wang Chengqiao and this Wang Zhuan will be handed over to my nephew. Beheading in Dongxi to give the people an explanation. That's fine. Princess Pingyang said, just don't listen to this person's nonsense. Xiaoming nodded and said to Lu Fei, detain the two of them. Wang Chengqiao was still laughing wildly. He worked so hard for so many years, and he eventually became someone else's wedding dress. He shouted loudly, Xiaoming, this King Zhao is not my Wang family, nor your Xiaoming's. Just wait, the iron cavalry of the barbarians knows me, but not you. Sooner or later this place will be razed to the ground. And then I will wait for you on Huangquan Road. Xiaoming pouted and said lightly, you may never be able to wait for this day. Wang Chengqiao's voice gradually faded away, and Xiaoming left the King Zhao prison. At this time Princess Pingyang said, Minger, Yang Mu is at your disposal during this time. This royal family is really abominable, and you must, don't worry, auntie, for the sake of the people of Limen, my nephew will also wipe out the Wang family. Xiaoming said. Princess Pingyang nodded and was escorted by the guards to Prince Qi's mansion. Xiaoming waited outside the King Zhao prison for a while before Lu Fei came out of the prison. His Royal Highness, the King Zhao army has been assembled. Are we going to arrest all the members of the Wang family now? Lu Fei said. Xiaoming said, the Wang family compound is only the residence of Wang Chengqiao and his son. The real strength of the Wang family is hidden in the farmhouse outside the city. Wang Chengqiao and his son were arrested. It is estimated that the rest of the Wang family have already received the news. At this time, it is estimated that they are already waiting for us in Wu Baogo. 3 years ago, the barbarians invaded, and the Wang family was like this. It is estimated that this time is not bad, and knowing that they will die, the resistance will be fierce. This is difficult. With around 5,000 people, the King Zhao army will also lose a lot if they attack. Xiaoming said, so, this time, we can't adopt the criminal law that implicates the 9 clans. What Wang Chengqiao likes most now is the death battle between this king and the Wang family, but this king is not what he wants. You and General Liu Yang are now sending people to surround the Wang family manor and tell me, for the people in the manor, this assassination only convicted Wang Chengqiao and his son, and did not implicate innocents, and the Wang family's assets were only seized by the Wang family's father and son, and others can still keep their own land. Lu Fei nodded. What if they still refuse? Then you should tell them that if Wu Fort is broken, No matter whether it is men, women or children, they will be killed. Xiao Ming said sharply. Lu Fei answered yes, and immediately left for the king's house camp. Yang Mu said at this time, Your Highness has a good plan. In this way, Your Highness may be able to dismember the Wang family without bloodshed, but the crime of assassinating the princess is very serious. How can His Highness change the punishment? It will. This powerful person from other places seems to have a particularly superior feeling when he arrives at his fief, and this seems to be the same for Yang Mu. I will naturally tell my aunt about this. General Liu Yang doesn't have to worry about it. If General Liu Yang insists, he can let the golden armored soldiers attack Wu Bao. This king will not mind you. Yang Mu was suffocated. He could see that Her Royal Highness the Princess still hoped that Xiao Ming and the Wang family would suffer both, so he said that unexpectedly. Xiao Ming turned the first army against him. Yang Mu left angrily. Xiao Ming sneered, and then said to Zhao Long, You go to the Qin family, tell the story of the assassination of the princess by the Wang family, and then tell Qin Xuan that the king hopes he can take over the Wang family for so many years. The crimes are listed one by one, and they cooperate with the king to eradicate the remnants of the Wang family in the 6 states. Zhao Long nodded and rode away. The story of the Wang family's assassination of the princess quickly spread in Qingzhou City, and those who were in close contact with the Wang family immediately panicked. It's just that their worries were superfluous, and soon a notice was posted at the gate of the city. This time, no one will be punished, and those who provide evidence of the crime of the Wang family will be rewarded for a time. Many people fell into the trap, beat the scumbags, and reported the Wang family's bloody cases to the government and Xiao Ming. And Fan Zheng quickly printed these evidences into the next day's newspaper, covering all the crimes of the Wang family. The newspapers arrived in the prefectures, counties and villages of the 6 states the next day, and the people cheered when they learned that the Wang family had been convicted. Chapter 104 Secret Weapon. 20 miles north of Qingzhou City. This is the location of the Wang family manor. At this time, there is a Wu fort in the manor filled with the Wang family's trilogy. This Wu Bao is all made of rammed soil. The city wall is 12 meters high and 5 meters thick. There are 4 arrow towers at the 4 corners of the city wall. In the arrow tower, more than 10 archers aimed at the Qingzhou army outside the city. In the city, the Wang family's Zhuang and the trilogy were busy back and forth, all preparing materials for the defense of Wu Bao. In the Great Yu Kingdom, the local aristocrats generally have their own tribes, and these tribes are strictly speaking the servants of the nobles because the wealthy clan has a large number of domestic servants. Sometimes in order to solve the disputes between the wealthy clans, the domestic servants are equipped with simple weapons and armor for daily training, which becomes a private soldier, as the saying goes according to Xiao Ming's order. Lu Fei and Yang Mu had already surrounded Wu Bao at this time, and they also told the people in Wu Bao what Xiao Ming said to him. But what ushered in was a tighter defense on Wu Bao. Xiao Yilu, it seems that these thieves are going to fight desperately. What should I do now? Yang Mu gloated. Lu Fei glanced at Yang Mu. This Wu Bao outside Qingzhou City is the largest Wu Bao among the Wang family in the 6 states. If this Wu Bao is won, other Wu Baos will not be a concern. It is Wang Chengchao's second younger brother, Wang Chenghen, who is in Wu Bao now. After learning that his brother and nephew were arrested, he immediately entered Wu Bao and summoned the Wang family's children to defend Wu Bao. There is no need to worry about General Liu Yang. The reason why Your Highness is doing this is just benevolence, and he doesn't want to increase the killings. If I win this Fort Wu, it will not be a problem for me. Lu Fei said. Yang Mu gave Lu Fei a cold look. Since that's the case, I'll just wait for Colonel Lu to take down Fort Wu. Lu Fei ignored him, but shouted to Wang Chengheng, who was standing on the city gate, You have to think clearly. Don't kill your whole family's life for yourself. Your Highness is lenient, not forgiving you. If you beg for death wholeheartedly, I, Lu Fei, will send you to Huangquan Road Ba. Do you think I would believe King Qi's nonsense? Surrender's death, not surrender's death. He will not let our Wang family go. Wang Chengheng roared. This king originally wanted to let your royal family go, but now I regret it, because for your own sake, you don't care about the lives of the family members. While the two were at a stalemate, suddenly Xiao Ming's voice came. Lu Fei faced off with the Wang family for a day and a night in Wu Bao. The next day, after he had dealt with the publicity of the crime of the Wang family, he rushed over Xiao Ming. Our Wang family treats you badly. Why do you want to kill them all? Wang Chengheng said angrily when he saw Xiao Ming. Wang Shiji and his son were arrested too suddenly. Wang Chengheng still hasn't figured out why, but he understands that King Qi wants to deal with the Wang family. Why? The reason is that 3 years ago, your royal family wanted to assassinate this king. Xiao Ming suddenly said, "How do you know?" Wang Chengheng paled in shock. "Wang Chengchao has all recruited, and even the secret connection between your royal family and the barbarians has been mentioned. It is no wonder that your royal family only lost some money and grain in the past 3 years. In these years, your royal family and the grassland trade have made a lot of money." Xiao Ming sneered. Cold sweat broke out on Wang Chengheng's forehead, and he was dumbfounded. These 2 charges were enough to slaughter the entire Wang family. The latter reason, Xiao Ming, is just nonsense, because Wang Chengchao's last sentence was inexplicable. Now it seems that he guessed right. The Wang family and the barbarians have been hooking up. "Not clear you are talking nonsense," Wang Chengheng said sophistry. When he came back to his senses, Xiao Ming ignored him. The Wang family was a big clan, and Wu Bao was gathering many direct descendants of the Wang family. It was because of these people that many servants resisted Wang Chengheng. "This king will say this one last time. If you surrender, this king will forgive the past and promise not to touch your assets. The same goes for others. But if you are still obsessed, don't blame this king for being ruthless. Flow into river." Xiao Ming said loudly. It is one thing for Lu Fei to convey it, and another thing for Xiao Ming to say it himself. The Wang family's children on Wu Bao suddenly felt a little commotion. They looked at the King's Hao army, who were all wrapped in silver armor, and a huge fear spread in their hearts. The enemy of Wu Bao's defense this time is the King's Hao army, not the barbarians. The barbarians will retreat if they can't attack for a long time, and Lu Fei will come to rescue, and they are now like rebels, facing not only the King's Hao army led by Lu Fei, but also reinforcements may continue to come. Even if the King's Hao army were besieged and not attacked, Wu Bao would not be able to hold on for 3 months. After Xiao Ming finished speaking, he stood with Lu Fei, waiting for Wang Chengheng's answer, but what he was waiting for was a sharp arrow. Wang Chengheng picked up the bow and arrow and aimed an arrow at Xiao Ming, and the sharp arrow landed at Xiao Ming's feet. "I really don't cry without seeing the coffin." Xiao Ming lost his patience. Lu Fei said, "His Royal Highness, attack. Don't worry, you can bring the catapults from the camp." Xiao Ming ordered. Yang Mu laughed. "Is your highness going to smash this wall with a sling? I'm afraid it won't be possible within half a year. Hey, General Liu Yang will know about this king's methods later, so don't be frightened at that time," Xiao Ming said with a smile. After he finished speaking, he whispered a few words to Zhaolong, and Zhaolong responded. The catapult in the King's Hao camp was very old, and Lu Fei never used it, but Xiao Ming said so. He still asked the soldiers to bring it. After waiting for an hour, a pure wooden catapult was brought over. This catapult had 4 wheels and a spoon-like rod behind it, and the structure of the spoon was basically a circle of hemp rope. As soon as the catapult arrived, a donkey cart stopped in front of everyone, with glass bottles filled with transparent liquids on them. Wang Chengheng had been guarding the city wall with the Wang family's troop, and his face was puzzled at this time. Xiao Ming is now very clear that the Wang family's children in Wu Bao are definitely not monolithic. The bigger the family, the greater the conflict. The reason why they still refuse to surrender is because they are afraid of Wang Chengheng and are coerced by him. But as long as their fear exceeds their fear of Wang Chengheng, a conflict will arise. What Xiao Ming has to do now is to create fear. He took a glass bottle full of liquid from the carriage and placed it in the trebuchet groove. The glass is so thin that it can be said to shatter almost when touched, and it will burst and shatter when thrown. Yang Mu had a strange look on his face. He had seen glass before. This King Qi used glass to attack the city, which is unparalleled in the world. Before he could make a mockery, he saw that the rope in the soldier's hand loosened, and the glass bottle flew out instantly, flying straight to where Wang Chengheng was. It's just that the sling was not accurate. The glass bottle was too far away, and it hit the wall 2 meters away from Wang Chengheng's left side and exploded. Wang Chengheng screamed. Chapter 105. A strange atmosphere permeated the battlefield, and Lu Fei and Yang Mu looked at Wang Chengheng on the wall of Wu Bao with horror and a miserable cry. Wang Chengheng's body was still bubbling with faint blue smoke, which was what made them stunned. Witchcraft. In the King's Hao army, a soldier's deliberately lowered voice sounded, "Your Highness, this." Lu Fei looked hesitant, wanting to ask but not daring to ask. In ancient times, many things that could not be explained were usually classified as sorcery, and now this situation is indeed beyond the scope of their understanding. Do you want to say whether this king can do magic?" Xiao Ming laughed. He looked at the Wang family's children who were in chaos on the wall of Wu Bao, and said, "Wait until this king takes Wang Chengheng's head." Tell you Yang Mu was in shock, but at this time he didn't dare to say more. One glass bottle was thrown out. Xiao Ming ordered the soldiers to throw the second and third glass bottles into Wu Bao, and the people who were touched by the liquid in the glass bottle cried out in pain. The King Zhao army in the outer city still suspected that it was a sorcery, and was terrified, not to mention the part of the Wang family in Wu Bao on the city wall. Wang Chengheng was clutching his left hand, and there was pain like being burned by fire. At this time, the place touched by the liquid was already a little charred. He looked at the indifferent Xiao Ming under the city, fear spread in his heart, and at this time one after another such thing flew in, just like him. The people who were touched by the liquid all looked like him. What the hell is this? Wang Chengheng asked loudly. No one answered his question, and in the eyes of those around them, they saw deep fear. At this moment, a private soldier of the Wang family pointed at the city wall and shouted, "Look at the city wall!" Everyone saw that the mud of the city wall soaked with liquid was falling off layer by layer. This scene made more people afraid. Seeing the reactions of the people of Wu Bao, Xiao Ming deliberately shouted, "Lu Fei, Xiao Lu, after the city is broken, no matter men, women or children, no one will be left behind." "Yes." Lu Fei responded. Then he turned to the sergeant and shouted, "Kill! Kill! 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 Kill!" Thousands of King Zhao troops roared in unison, passing into Wu Bao like rolling thunder, and reaching the ears of none of the Wang family who were huddled in Wu Bao. Wang Chengheng's face became paler and paler. He was holding a steel knife in his hand, but his body was trembling slightly. But at this time he had no turning back. At this moment, a man of the same age as Wang Chengheng climbed the city wall, walked to Wang Chengheng's side, and said, "Second brother, surrender, there is no hope. King Qi has only besieged us for half a year, and we can't stand it, you bastard." A rat who is greedy for life and fear of death. How did the eldest brother teach us that our royal family has been passed down in King Zhao for hundreds of years? When there was a royal family, there was no great Yu kingdom. Today, Xiao Ming wants to destroy our royal family. Even if it is death, we must resist to the end. Wang Chengheng said angrily, "Don't forget, there is also the Sun family. They will definitely send someone to rescue our people, and then we will attack back and forth, kill this fake king, and go to Kachar Khan together." Sun's family? Second brother, if the Sun family were to come, would they have to wait a day if they came early? Wang Chengping persuaded bitterly. In this Wu Bao, his whole family, young and old, was here, so he had to think about himself. And now, after learning that Wang Chengchao's father and son assassinated the princess, the Wu Bao's trilogy was already talking about it. Coupled with Xiao Ming's persuasion, many people no longer had the will to fight. From their eyes, Wang Chengping could see that the Wang family was over, and if the city was broken, these people would not resist at all. Now that such a strange thing has been thrown into the city again, many of the episodes have already shown their timidity. I believe that the Sun family will come. The Wang family and the Sun family have been in-laws for generations. If my Wang family is destroyed, will the Sun family last? Wang Chengheng glared at Wang Chengping. Did you believe the words of the fake king and prepare to surrender? When speaking, Wang Chengheng's steel knife pointed at Wang Chengping. If Wang Chengping's word was wrong, he would have Wang Chengping's blood splash 5 steps. Second brother. Wang Chengping didn't dare to say any more, and stepped back slowly. Wang Chengchao has always taken good care of Wang Chengheng, because Wang Chengchao and Wang Chengheng are the same mother and father, but he is a real concubine, because his affection for Wang Chengchao is not as deep as that of Wang Chengheng. The Wang family is a big family, and there are many brothers of the same generation. He is not the only one. There are also 5 half-brothers of Wang Chengchao in Wu Bao. Slowly retreating from the city wall, the 5 people immediately surrounded Wang Chengping and asked, "Third brother, how is it?" "He's crazy. He said he was waiting for reinforcements from the Sun family. In my opinion, he won't surrender," Wang Chengping said with a frown. One of them said angrily, Wang Chengheng is looking for death. We can't accompany him to the funeral. There are not 300 or 500 King Zhao soldiers outside the city, but more than 5,000 people. And the golden armored soldier is said to be the elite brought by Her Royal Highness. Isn't it courting death? Yes, there are too many strange things thrown in by King Qi. Many soldiers have been burned, and this thing can burn through the city wall. We can't stand it for much time. Everyone, you say what I say. At the moment of life and death, what they value most is their own life. As for Wang Chengheng, they don't have much feelings in their hearts. When the Wang family was in full swing, this brother Wang Chengchao also despised them a lot. Wang Chengping was silent for a while, and said, "Big brother is getting angry now, and now the second brother's words are orders. What can I do?" When the others heard the words, their expressions were different, and they didn't know what they were thinking, but everyone seemed to think of a way. But no one hesitated and didn't want to say it first. Outside the city, the voices of the King's Zhao army shouting kill came in bursts. And everyone's faces became more and more ugly. If the King's Zhao army entered the city, there would be no room for turning around. Wang Chengping finally said, "Everyone, now there is only one way. We have tied Wang Chenghang together to plead guilty to His Highness, and His Highness may even think that I will do meritorious service and reward us." The remaining 5 people's thoughts coincided with Wang Chengping's. And they all nodded at this time. The 6 people each led their most trusted servants to the tower. Wang Chengheng, who was commanding the city wall, saw it, and his expression changed greatly. "Wang Chengping, what do you want to do?" "Second brother, I'm sorry, you want to die, but our wives, children don't want to die. Now we can only aggrieve you," Wang Chengping said loudly. Wang Chengheng's chest heaved violently, and he shouted to the soldiers on the city wall, "Come on, kill these 6 traitors for me." His voice fell, and not a single soldier moved. They were already terrified by the things Zhao Ming kept throwing up. Everyone had the idea of surrender, but no one picked it up. They kept suppressing it. Now that Wang Chengping took the lead, they immediately stood by Wang Chengping's side. Chapter 106. The Wang family fell. Zhao Ming was full. Rebel, you rebels on the khaki-colored city wall." Wang Chengheng looked around and saw cold eyes one after another. At this moment, the soldiers behind Wang Chengheng immediately grabbed Wang Chengping and pressed Wang Chengping to the ground. There was a smile on the corner of Wang Chengping's mouth. At this time, he stepped forward and shouted to Zhao Ming below, "Your Highness, under Wang Chengping, now Wang Chengheng has been won. This time is really the fault of Wang Chengchao's brothers. To spare others," and so on. What happened on the city wall fell into the eyes of the people under the city. Lu Fei laughed. Yang Mu's face was ashen. The person who knows the current affairs is Junji, and this king will definitely fulfill his promise. Zhao Ming's heart is very happy. The soldiers who attack the city are the bottom, and the soldiers who subdue without fighting are the top. Although he was not afraid to fight Wang Jie fiercely, but after all, King Zhao is now in a state of ruin, and such tossing will also hurt his vitality. Moreover, the information Wang Chengchao said was terrifying. If it was true, he would need to deploy heavy troops from both the north and the south, one to defend against the barbarians, and the other to defend against the king of Wei. "Open the city gate!" Wang Chengping shouted at this time, and the gate of Wu Bao made a squeak sound and slowly opened. "Enter the city." Zhao Ming said excitedly. This is the first time he has faced a war with cold weapons. He still has a small sense of accomplishment when he solves the Wang family's affairs without fighting. He was about to drive his horse into Wu Bao, when Lu Fei suddenly stopped him and said solemnly, "Your Highness, be careful with deceit. For safety's sake, the last commander will lead someone to collect their weapons first." Zhao Ming looked embarrassed. In the end, he still had too little experience. Lu Fei's meaning was obvious. If Wang Chengping swindled and surrendered, he would be finished. Staying in place, he watched Lu Fei enter Wu Bao with 1,000 soldiers. After waiting for half an hour, a row of King Zhao soldiers occupied the city wall, and one of the soldiers shouted, "Your Highness, the city is safe." With a sigh of relief, Zhao Ming and Yang Mu entered the city together. Relatively speaking, Wu Bao is a miniature version of the city, with its own system, but it is more focused on military use. The Wang family's Wu Bao is 300 meters long and wide, which is equivalent to the area of a modern middle school. It has granaries, weapons, and housing. Even if it is isolated outside the city, it can independently support it for 3 months or even half a year. Entering Wu Bao, Zhao Ming saw Wang Chengheng, who was tied up with 5 flowers. Lu Fei and Wang Chengping, who appeared on the city wall, were standing on both sides of Wang Chengheng. Wang Chengping has seen His Highness. Seeing Zhao Ming coming over, Wang Chengping immediately stepped forward and saluted. Zhao Ming nodded to Wang Chengping and said lightly, "The people of the Wang family should thank you. You saved their lives." Wang is just believing in His Highness's wiseness and martial arts, and will definitely keep his promise. Wang Chengping was very worried. Now that the Wang family's trilogy was all disarmed, if Zhao Ming repented at this time, they would have no resistance. Zhao Ming smiled and said, "What this king said will naturally be done. I will not kill you." "Thank you, Your Highness." Wang Chengping breathed a sigh of relief. He hesitated and asked, "His Royal Highness, then the Wang family's property?" Lu Fei on the side snorted coldly, "You are greedy. Her Royal Highness originally wanted to punish your 9 clans, and it was Her Highness who asked Her Royal Highness to spare your life. Now you are greedy, and you are still thinking about the Wang family's property." Wang Chengping immediately pleaded guilty, and a layer of cold sweat broke out on his back. Zhao Aoyulu is very right, it's the greedy people of the grass. However, This king can let you take back the property recorded in your own name, but the premise is that you will help this king to settle Wu Bao in other states. As soon as Lu Fei's voice fell, Xiao Ming suddenly said. When Changping was overjoyed, he understood Xiao Ming's idea. He wanted him to sort out the Wang family's property, and at the same time dissolve the trilogy in Wu Bao in other states. In recent years, Wang Chengchao and his son have occupied most of the Wang family's property, and they have received very little, but even so, they can live the rest of their lives in peace with these properties. They are used to living a pampered life, and if they were to be purified from the house at this time, they would not be killed, but would starve to death. Such a rare opportunity. He naturally agreed. Since that's the case, you can deal with this matter. This king will send someone to go with you, Xiao Ming said. When Changping took the Wang family's children to leave, and the Wang family's Wu Bao was officially taken over by the King Zhao army. I have to say that the Wang family has been in business for many years. Apart from the city wall, he does not like this Wu Bao, but the others are perfect. A little remodeling, but it is a barracks. After successfully taking down Wangjiao fort, Pang Yukin, who learned the news, arrived soon, and he needed to handle the rest of the supplies. His Royal Highness is really powerful. Pang Yukin had to admire the cause and effect. After learning about the cause and effect, only then did Lu Fei cautiously ask, Your Highness, what is in the bottle you let to throw? Why is it so terrifying? It's called sulfuric acid. I don't understand what I told you. If you have nothing to do, ask Lu Tong and let him tell you, Xiao Ming said. Then he turned around and said to Pang Yukin, the Wang family has a lot of property. You still follow Wang Changping to receive it, so that he won't do anything in it, especially the Wang family mine. Yes, Your Highness, but Your Highness still keeps Wang Changping, so you are not afraid of the Wang family's comeback? Pang Yukin said. At this time when the Wang family makes a comeback, this king will probably wipe them out with just one finger, Xiao Ming said with a smile. And this king asked Wang Zhuan, Wang Changping is different from Wang Chengchao and Wang Chenghen, and they don't have much attribution. They feel that the family property under their name is also pitiful. Since then, they are at most a wealthy family, and they can't make a big storm. On the contrary, if this king kills them, those who are related to the Wang family will definitely fight to the death. Pang Yukin nodded, relieved. Xiao Ming has really grown a lot during this time, and he knows how to take care of the overall situation. The Wang family's property and business are one thing, and the rest is the Wang family's part. These episodes were all slaves and servants purchased by the Wang family. They were previously led by members of the Wang family. Now that the Wang family has disappeared, these people have not gone out. After thinking for a while, he decided to hand over these parts to Lu Fei and fill them into the army. After all, these people have also been trained. His Royal Highness, I will take these people away. Lu Fei laughed because these people are still slaves and still have no freedom. They used to live with the Wang family, but now they don't know how to survive without the Wang family. So now that they are charged into the army, they are giving a sigh of relief, so that they at least have a bite to eat. There are more than 2,000 people in the Wang family in Wu Bao. These people are usually Zhuangs, but they are soldiers when they are in war. They are very similar to the construction corps. However, there may still be problems with these ideas for the time being, but the army has a long history, and they specialize in this. Chapter 107 Strike while the iron is hot. King's Hao Southgate. Xiao Ming took a group of King's Hao officials to see Princess Pingyang off. As eye-catching as when she came, Princess Pingyang was still eye-catching when she left. Xiao Ming told Princess Pingyang about everything about the Wang family last night. Princess Pingyang's response was cold, as if she had just killed an ant. However, this trip to King's Hao was broken, and Princess Pingyang seemed to be unwilling to stay in King's Hao, and would go to Jinling City the next day. Xiao Ming prepared some King's Hao wine, perfume, soap, and of course glass for Princess Pingyang. Thanks to her coming this time, he has the opportunity to get rid of the Wang family. Compared with this, he has gained more, but the food in the Wang family's granary in the 6 states is enough to make the King's Hao army not have to worry about food for the next few years. In addition to food, the Wang family also has a large amount of arable land, cattle, mines, and slaves. All of these family properties were confiscated. It was really the Wang family who fell and ate him. His Royal Highness, the Wang family has now fallen, and there are still 3 remaining. It's just that the Sun family didn't help the Wang family this time. It's really strange. Otherwise, we would have an excuse to wipe out the Sun family. Pang Yukin said. Xiao Ming was also a little surprised at this point. The Sun family held their ground, as if this matter had nothing to do with them. This was a posture of watching fire from the other side. It can only be said that the people of the Sun family are not stupid, otherwise they will end up the same as the Wang family. Xiaoming said slowly, His Royal Highness, what should I do with the remaining 3? Pang Yukin asked at this time. This time Xiaoming eradicated the Wang family in one fell swoop. At that time, these people couldn't react, but it is estimated that they will soon be able to recall it. He said, no hurry, the remaining 3 families combined are only comparable to the Wang family, we are enough to deal with it easily, then it depends on whether they are aware of the current affairs. Pang Yukin nodded, he understood Xiaoming's meaning. If they disband the trilogy, hand over Wu Bao, and become a wealthy businessman with peace of mind, this King Zhao can accommodate them. Looking at Princess Pingyang's carriage away, Xiaoming sighed softly. The most taboo thing for those in power is that there are armed forces in their jurisdiction that are not under their control. The same goes for Xiaoming. He can endure these wealthy families doing business. It doesn't matter how much money they make, there is only one thing, they can't threaten his rule this time. Taking advantage of the matter of the Wang family, he wanted to change the habit of supporting the fiefdoms in one fell swoop. Talking to Pang Yukin about this issue, he returned to King Zhao City with a group of officials. At this time, on the carriage that had walked several miles, Princess Pingyang lifted the curtains and glanced at King Zhao City from a distance. She said to Yang Mu, why do I always feel that something is wrong? It seems that this palace has let King Qi take advantage of it. Yang Mu was silent all the way, and at this time he said, Your Highness, Princess, this end is not clear, but King Qi is definitely not simple. When Wang Jia Wu Bao, King Qi was not at all reckless like 5 years ago, but good at forbearance. He solved the noble family of the fief without blood. He did have 2 strokes. If you say that, I feel that I have been tricked by this nephew. Hey, maybe Xiaoming did the opposite and made Ben Gong believe that the Wang family is true. The murderer who assassinated this palace. Princess Pingyang sighed. Yang Mu said, if this is the case, when we return to Chang'an, we will report to the emperor for King Qi. Haha, what you think is too simple, and now there is no proof. Who will prove it? Princess Pingyang yawned lazily, gently lowered the curtain, and said secretly, if Xiaoming is given a few more years, this Dayu countries, I am afraid there will be different variables in the battle for the throne, which is interesting. At the same time, the Qin family in King Zhao City, Qin Zhuanayan, was not excited by the destruction of the Wang family. On the contrary, when Wang Chengchao and Wang Chenghang were beheaded in Dongxi, he only felt a chill behind his back, as if he would be the one on the guillotine next time. Father, what should we do now? Looking at Qin Zhuanayan, who was pacing back and forth in the house, Qin Mu asked fearfully. He saw with his own eyes the head of Wang Chengchao, a generational hero in King Zhao, and he still hasn't forgotten Wang Chengchao's dead eyes. Qin Zhuanayan stopped and said, what else can I do? Can't you see His Highness's thoughts now? What he wants is that no one in his fief can threaten his rule, and the Wang family is against him secretly and secretly. It is clear that this time it is to kill chickens to warn monkeys. Father, will our Qin family be next? Qin Mu asked tremblingly. Qin Zhuanayan was silent, gritted his teeth, and said, no, we absolutely cannot be a royal family. You and I will go to see His Highness now. Qin Mu nodded and followed Qin Zhuanayan towards the Qi palace. On the way, the two met Xiaoming, who is returning. Your Highness, Qin Mu is guilty. Qin Zhuanayan saw Xiaoming and knelt on the ground with a plop on the street. Qin Zhuanayan's kneeling made many businessmen and commoners stay and watch the excitement. Xiaoming glanced at Qin Zhuanayan and his son, and said, when you two get up, what kind of decency are you in the public? If there is anything, please tell me when I return to the palace. Pang Yukin nodded secretly. It seemed that Qin Zhuan had come to realize it later, and now he has come to his senses. When everyone returned to the palace, Xiaoming and Pang Yukin met with the Qin family in the main hall. Now Xiaoming is going to put the policy of weakening the aristocrats directly on the table, because the balance of power has changed. Other than member Qin, what makes you so nervous? Xiaoming knew the advisor, the Kaomin, is guilty, and the control of the clan is not strict. There are many violations of the law in the Leziao clan, and I ask your highness to punish. Qin Zhuanayan's face showed a sad color. Pang Yukin and Xiaoming looked at each other and laughed at the same time. Pang Yukin said, Ms. Qin, don't beat around the bush. The purpose of your visit this time is to fear that the Qin family and the Wang family will end in the same way. Qin Zhuanayan was startled, then nodded slowly. At this moment, Qin Mu knelt down in front of Xiaoming and said, Your Highness, Kaomin used to be so disrespectful that he actually called His Highness a brother and a brother. It really deserves to die. Get up. Xiaoming said lightly, since you are here, It is clear that there are disobedient aristocrats on the land that this king can't afford. Qin Chuanian and Qin Mu nodded at the same time. Xiao Ming continued, this king is not someone who is easy to kill, otherwise thousands of people in the Wang family have already fallen to the ground. You are the people of this king. If you are willing to live in peace on the fief, this king will naturally not be right. How about you? Dismiss the trilogy, return the land that occupied the common people, and do business on the fief from now on. Your Qin family will be safe and sound. In the past, the wealthy family not only monopolized the economic lifeline of the fief, but also participated in government affairs, and many officials in the 6 states worked for them. Now Xiao Ming has isolated the conditions for their participation in government affairs. From then on, they are only businessmen. Chapter 108. Your Highness, Xiao Ming obeys. Qin Chuanian felt sad in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. The trilogy was the main reason why the aristocrats were able to traverse the countryside. Now, once the trilogy is disbanded, they will lose the title of aristocratic family, and they will no longer be able to make a fortune. Pang Yukin said at this time, Qin Chuanian, in general, you have done a lot for His Highness, and His Highness still trusts you. I hope your Qin family can set an example in this matter, and King Zhao will issue a decree soon. Civilians do not allow private soldiers to exist in any situation. This sentence made Qin Chuanian feel a little more comfortable. To survive or to perish, at this time, Qin Chuanian had to choose one. The Wang family's previous lessons are in front of him. He said, thank you for your kindness, Your Highness. Xiao Ming promises that from now on the Qin family will work safely for His Highness. With a wave of his hand, Xiao Ming signaled that Qin Chuanian and his son could leave. When the two left the main hall, Xiao Ming said, I will let Li Sam's people stare to see if the Qin family is against the yin and yang. If Qin Chuanian is sensible, the Qin family is a local businessman worthy of support, and a foreign businessman. After all, we are not of the same mind with this king, and we need local merchants to restrain us. Qin Chuanian is not as resourceful as Wang Chengxiao, and he is not timid. Otherwise, he would not have been suppressed by the Wang family for so many years. Pang Yukin said, I hope Qin Chuanian will do the same. In this way, the Sun family and the Wei family will also. That's all right. That's right. A large part of the Wang family's property was seized, and many of the Wang family's slaves were forced to sell their bodies. You have to find these people, and when you return their free bodies, return the property together. Then Pang Yukin smiled, don't worry, Your Highness, other matters can be postponed, and this matter will be dealt with quickly. After sending Pang Yukin away, Xiao Ming sent someone to find Fan Zheng. Naturally, the matter of fighting the local tyrants and dividing the land must be publicized with great fanfare, so as to win the hearts and minds of the people. Since ancient times, people have risen up for the land, so it is also what the people want. In addition to the property of the Wang family, he successively issued decrees to return the land to the people, ordering the wealthy families in the fief to return all the illegal land to the common people. The next day, Fan Zheng printed these contents in the newspaper, and the newspaper went to Liao with the newsboy, causing an uproar among the people. One of these is naturally the matter of the Wang family, and the people are most concerned about the decision of the wealthy family to return their occupied land to them. It's really heartwarming. The Wang family has occupied a lot of fertile land along the Tuojiang River in our village. Now we can finally get it back. In Zhujia village, the villagers surround the reporters who arrive on time every day at noon. Since the establishment of the newspaper, this newsboy has been abandoned. These scholars who walk the streets with newspapers have an elegant name. No, my family's 5 acres of fertile land was occupied by the Wang family. At that time, I went to ask for it, and was beaten by the evil slave of the Wang family. God's eyes are open. This King Qi has become more and more wise. If this property can be obtained, I will take the sheep from my family and give it to His Highness to thank him, said a villager. Zhu Wuliu was also in the crowd. He grinned and smiled foolishly. The Wang family was gone, and he no longer had the job of herding cattle. However, some land in his family was seized by the Wang family. If he could get it back, he could divide the land in this way. After 2 or 3 years of cultivation, the day will be comfortable. King Qi, 1,000 years old. Thinking of this, Zhu Wuliu suddenly shouted with joy in his heart. In an instant, the entire threshing floor was quiet, and all the villagers in Zhujia village looked at Zhu Wuliu. Zhu Wuliu suddenly didn't dare to speak, and looked at the people around him with some fear. King Qi is 1,000 years old, 1,000 years old, 1,000 years old. Just when he was puzzled, everyone suddenly shouted enthusiastically. The scholars in the middle of the threshing field looked at the excited people of Zhujia village, and they were also infected, and cheered with the people together. The purpose of several decrees in the newspaper this time is very clear, that is, to attack the rich and powerful families of the fief from many children of the poor family. They are well aware of the dangers of the rich and powerful to the Great U country, but unfortunately the Great U country is ruled by them, and in any place, the government always protects their interests only here. And only King Ki dared to be the first to stifle the wealthy family and eliminate the cancer that was parasitic in the fief. His thoughts are similar to those of the common people. The common people want to live and work in peace and contentment, not to be bullied by the rich and powerful, to eat well, to dress warmly, to marry and to support children, and the underprivileged like him wanted to be treated fairly in the imperial examinations, measured by personal talent, not family background. In other parts of the Great U Kingdom, he saw no hope, but as he read newspapers every day and collected public opinion, he gradually felt that perhaps only the King of Ki could achieve all this. In order to make this day possible, he is willing to work tirelessly every day to spread the news in the newspaper to every corner of the fief. The news on the newspaper also spread to the wealthy families in King's Hao. Unlike the excitement of the common people, they fell into panic. The Wang family had learned from the past, which sounded a wake-up call for them, and at the same time conveyed a message that the fief of King Ki would no longer be a place for them to act arbitrarily. To live here, one must abide by the laws of King's Hao. In the next few days, and even more shocking news came from the newspaper. The Qin family took the initiative to write an article in the newspaper, and decided to return all the occupied land and restore the identity of some of the people who sold themselves because of the loss of land. At the same time, the Qin family's Wu Bao in the 6 states will be taken over by the King's Hao army in each state, and the Qin family's tribes are officially disbanded and incorporated into the King's Hao army. One of the 2 leading wealthy families in King's Hao was destroyed, and the other took the initiative to accept the decree issued. This was like an earthquake for the wealthy families in each state. A strange atmosphere also permeated the 6 states. The King's Hao governor mansion, Xiao Ming, has been handling government affairs here for half a month since the decree was delivered to the 6 states. The governor's office has been paying attention to the situation in the 6 states. The Qin family chose to compromise, but Xiao Ming didn't think everyone would compromise. There will be a few people who are not afraid of death. After all, when this decree comes out, it means that he officially declares war on all the wealthy families in the fief. His Royal Highness, Qin Yuanwei, sent an invitation to invite you and me, General Lu Fei, and others to a banquet in the Qin mansion. He said that this time he invited a lot of noble families who are close to the Qin family, and they are willing to obey His Highness's decree like him. Pang Yukan sent an invitation. Qin Zhuanayan was the first to respond to the decree, and Xiao Ming naturally had a better impression of the Qin family, and felt that the children could be taught. He opened the invitation and looked at it. He smiled and said, Qin Zhuanayan was very attentive. This time it is indeed attentive, but this time I am afraid it will be a Hongmen banquet. Suddenly a cold voice came from outside the door. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, Undercurrent. Li San, Pang Yukan and Xiao Ming looked out and saw Li San walking, and in the last incident, Wang Zhuan suffered a lot in prison. When Dong Shi beheaded, Wang Zhuan was replaced by a death row inmate because his hair was disheveled along the way, and the focus of the execution was Wang Chengqiao. Wang Zhuan was not paid too much attention, but Wang Zhuan was still recuperating at home because of his serious injuries. This secret guard's affairs are temporarily in charge of Li San. Li San approached and said, His Royal Highness, the lower official is here this time for this matter. Your Highness must not go to Qin's house. Why? Li San's expression was serious, which made Xiao Ming have an uncomfortable premonition. Following His Highness's order, the secret guard has been monitoring the major clans these days. He has found that many of the clans have entered King's Hao City. This time Qin Zhuanayan invited His Highness to the banquet, not what he thought, but it was the request made by the nobles who came to visit. Li San said. Pang Yukan's expression changed. In addition to the Wang family, Sun family, Qin family, and Wei family, there are many other small noble families in the 6 states, and their interests are also involved in this decree. The sword has been unsheathed and can't be taken back. Since they want to wrestle with this king will let them see how powerful it is. Some people can use virtue to transform it, while some people can only use swords to make them bleed. Xiao Ming slapped the table fiercely. Since they are going to hold a banquet, We will do everything we can to catch these wealthy families in one fell swoop. Pang Yukin said nervously. Your Highness, it is absolutely impossible. You are trying your own risk, and now your Highness must not have any mistakes, otherwise it will be that the relatives will hurt the enemy quickly. His Royal Highness, Pang Changshi is right, you can't take risks. Li San also advised if you don't enter the tiger's den, you can't get the tiger's son. These wealthy families are the malignant tumors on this king's land. This time is an opportunity to eradicate those disobedient wealthy families in one fell swoop. Otherwise, what reason does this king have to cut them off one by one in the future? Xiao Ming has made up his mind. If these potential threats are not eliminated for a day, he will not be able to sleep peacefully for a day. But how can your Highness ensure his own safety? Seeing Xiao Ming's resolute attitude, Pang Yukin had to devise a way to let Xiao Ming retreat. Xiao Ming is not a fool. These wealthy clans are likely to threaten him at the banquet, make him cancel the decree, or die. This is a game between him and the wealthy family. Whoever loses will withdraw from the historical stage of King Zhao forever. It's very simple. It's very boring to change the venue of the banquet. It's very boring in the Qin family. It's better to let them go outside the city with this king, drink and enjoy the scenery. Xiao Ming said lightly. Pang Yukin and Li San looked at each other and said, Your Highness really doesn't play cards according to common sense. This is an idea, so we have time to arrange it. Yes, our secret guards can also arrange for someone to sneak into the accompanying servants to protect His Highness secretly. Li San said if that's the case, let's do it this way. These wealthy clans so desperately want to coerce this king will definitely not give up this opportunity. Outside the city, they will think it's easier to start. Xiao Ming said after deciding on this matter, Pang Yukin thought carefully about the location of Tachin, and left the governor's mansion while discussing with Li San. Speaking of which, Xiao Ming himself was also a little worried. After all, he was not an invulnerable ninja, but this time was indeed an excellent opportunity to lead snakes out of their holes. After all, after passing this village, there is no such shop. If these people with different intentions hide in his fief in the future, it will be even more worrying. Pang Yukin and the two went to prepare. Xiao Ming thought that he had to do some protection. He thought it would be better to wear a breastplate this time. This breastplate was naturally the protective equipment that Xiao Ming asked the equipment division to create for him. It could be worn inside a pair and would not be noticed by outsiders. He wanted to wear plate armor, but that would be too obvious. The news of the change of location quickly reached the Qin family, and Qin Zhuanayan said with a smile, Everyone, your Highness seems to be in a good mood. He said that we will be with you tomorrow to go to spring by the Zhaoqing River. Today's banquet is not as good as we eat it by ourselves in the Qin family compound. There were more than 30 people from large and small 6 states, including the Sun family and the Wei family. After hearing this news, many people looked disappointed. At this time, Sun Yuanzi said, Brother Qin, there is no need for this. Since His Highness is not here, I will not bother Brother Qin. A lot to lose. Qin Zhuanayan's expression stiffened for a moment. If he didn't mention this, he didn't feel distressed. When Sun Yuanzi mentioned it, he remembered the land in Wubao he handed over Sun Yuanzi. He showed a faint smile, and he continued, Farewell, we will meet again another day. We'll meet again another day. During the conversation, more than 20 wealthy clans surrendered to Qin Zhuanayan, and followed Sun Yuanzi out of the Qin family compound. Wei Hong walked up to Qin Zhuanayan at this time and said, This Sun Yuanzi is still arrogant and arrogant. HMPH, the Wang family is gone, and I don't know what else he has to worry about. HMPH, it's probably because we took the lead in taking the initiative to respond to the decree, and I felt unhappy. Ha ha ha. Qin Zhuanayan suddenly laughed. Outside the door, Sun Yuanzi and a group of nobles did not go far before they stopped in front of a dwelling and observed that no one was following them, and the group went straight into the dwelling. Other than Sun Yuan, did King Qi notice something? If so, let's run for our lives. We are not the opponents of the King Zhao army. One person worried. Escape? Where to escape? Don't you want your house and property? A person retorted. Then wait for death? Money is more important or life is more important. Inside the house, the group immediately became a quarrel. Everyone, stop arguing. Sun Yuanzi suddenly snorted, My son Yuanzi has endured humiliation until now to avenge Wang Yuanwei. Watching Wang Jiawu fort be surrounded, my son family did not dispatch one person and one horse, not to be paralyzed. King Qi? Run away now? Are you worthy of the deceased Wang Yuan? Don't forget that you and the Wang family are more or less related by marriage. You, Sun Yuanzi, don't threaten us with this. Someone said this satisfied HMPH, you can go, but I, Sun Yuanzi, Won't stop. I'll see if His Highness will bypass you at that time. There was a hint of madness in Sun Yuanzi's eyes. Everyone was silent for a while. The use of the banquet to coerce the assassination of King Qi was originally planned by Sun Yuanzi in secret. According to the plan, at the dinner tonight, they would suddenly attack and use a trick to coerce the emperor to order the princes. When the life and death of King Qi is controlled in their hands, King Qi can take back the decree and become a puppet of a wealthy family. Chapter 110 Inner Ghost. Since Sun Yuanwei said so, then now that His Highness has changed his place, what should we do next? Haven't all our plans come to nothing these days? An old man wearing a square scarf asked. What Hulao said is what should we do next? You talk about it. Someone echoed. Sun Yuanzi sneered. Just now, the person sent by King Qi said that the location of the spring is the lotus pond by the Zhaoqing River. Every year, many people in Qingzhou City go to play somewhere, and there is a small forest there. Tonight I will ambush people and horses inside, and wait for tomorrow when King Qi arrives. In this way, I think the odds of winning outside the city are better. After all, we don't have many episodes in the city these days. Another person said. Indeed, outside the city, I can mobilize all the Sun family's part, plus the people sent by everyone. There are more than 1,000 people in total. At that time, it was difficult for King Qi to fly. Sun Yuanzi snorted. But what if it was a trap set by King Qi this time? Others were worried. I have already sent people to keep an eye on the Qingzhou camp. If there is trouble, we will hold our ground at that time. You can rest assured now. Sun Yuanzi said. Everyone nodded and dispersed. There were other nobles waiting for their news outside the city. Now that the plan has changed, they need to start over. After Sun Yuanzi and others left, a person sneaked out of the back of the house. He looked in the direction where Sun Yuanzi and others left, and went straight to the governor's mansion. Sun Yuanzi, in Qi Wangfu. Xiao Ming frowned deeply after hearing the news. His Royal Highness, this Sun Yuanzi has always been good at forbearance. It seems that he didn't make a move last time. He knew that he would not succeed. This time, he wanted to surprise His Highness. Both Pang Yukan and Li San arrived at the Qi Palace. This king thought he was afraid, but now it seems that the dog can't change the. Xiao Ming sighed. Pang Yukan said, His Royal Highness, the Sun family and the Wang family have been in-laws for generations. This relationship makes the Sun family naturally different from other wealthy families. The wealthy families who participated this time are also more or less related to the Wang family. Pang Changshi, Your Highness, let's take these things slowly. Now it's time to discuss how to deal with tomorrow's affairs. There are only 30 secret guards now. If the Sun family is involved, this matter will be troublesome. Li Three worried. Pang Yukan looked at Xiao Ming at this time, but using the Qingzhou army will definitely startle the snakes. I think these wealthy families must be staring at the Qingzhou army at this time. Well, this is indeed a problem. Xiao Ming also had a headache without the Qingzhou army. If he went to a banquet, he was basically going to die. After pondering for a while, Pang Yukan suddenly said, Wait, I have some solutions. Pang Changshi, please speak. Xiao Ming said. Pang Yukan said, His Royal Highness, the equipment department seems to be sending a batch of newly forged equipment to the Qingzhou camp today. At this time, it is better to come to the Mingxiu Plank Road to darken the Chengkang. Xiao Ming immediately understood. Do you mean to let the slaves who transport the equipment go in, and then let the Qingzhou army disguise as slaves and then secretly transfer the Qingzhou army out? Exactly. In this way, people and equipment can be brought out. After all, these equipments are all packed in boxes. Pang Yukan said. Li San clapped his hands and said, Meow, just how many Qingzhou troops can handle this? There shouldn't be too many people. 500 people are enough. Xiao Ming said to himself. Slaves who transport equipment need hundreds of people to go back and forth at a time, which is just right. The three agreed on this matter, and Li San sent someone to the equipment division to arrange it. On the same day, 500 Qingzhou sergeants entered the city from the Qingzhou camp. Lu Fei also came to Qi Wangfu at night. These bastards, this time a certain family must have their heads cut off. Lu Fei immediately scolded when he learned of the noble family's plan. Pang Yukan said, Xia Aoilu, the safety of His Highness is in your hands this time. If His Highness has 3 pieces and 2 shorts, you and I will kill yourself to thank the world. Lu Fei said sternly. A certain family is the one who wants to protect His Highness Zhou Quan, even if he loses his life. A certain family has long seen that these wealthy families are not used to it. If it wasn't for such a wealthy family who refused to send troops for their own interests 3 years ago, the Qingzhou army would not have been compromised. Having lost so many soldiers, and now His Highness is going to kill their heads, there is absolutely no ambiguity about a certain family. Pang Yukin nodded. The four discussed the steps for tomorrow, and then they were ready to leave. Outside the hall, Li Sam paused and looked at a servant who left in a hurry. However, he left Qi Wangfu with Pang Yukin and others. As night gradually fell, the hustle and bustle of the day disappeared, turning into silence, with only the occasional barking of dogs and the screeching of beating men in the huge city. The moon hung on the treetops, and under the silver moonlight, mottled light was left on the ground. When the entire city seemed to be asleep, a black figure sneaked out from the small door in the backyard of Prince Qi's mansion, hiding himself in the darkness along the wall. The black figure quickly ran towards the sun's compound. Qizi, where are you going so late? Suddenly a voice sounded in the dark night, and then 5 people appeared and surrounded the black figure in the middle. The black figure was startled, and when he saw that it was Li San, he seemed relieved and said, "It's Li San. I came out to get a breath of fresh air when I was bored in the Fuzhong. For these days, when you were not on the Fuzhong, you went to work somewhere, and the Fuzhong your servants envy you. Take a breath. This Qingzhou city has a curfew every night, don't you know?" Li Sam said lightly. "That's what you said, didn't you come out?" Qizi's eyes rolled around, and the 5 people forced him to the corner. At this time Li Sam said with a sneer, "I came out to find the inner ghost for His Royal Highness. I didn't expect that this matter would still make me come out on top." "Wang Zhuan is out of the game." "What the hell, Li San, you misunderstood." Qizi explained. "HMPH, what else to explain? 300 meters ahead is the sun's compound. You've walked quite a distance to breathe. Take him down." Li Sam shouted. The remaining 4 listened to the order and rushed up immediately. Li San picked up the stick in his hand and pointed at Qizi. Qizi groaned and fainted immediately. "I want to report to Sun Yuanzi, and I want to be beautiful." Li Sam said, "I will put this person in the secret guard prison. Fortunately, I am clever, or tomorrow's important affairs of His Highness will be ruined." The accompanying subordinates admired, "Commander Li, you are really amazing. How do you know that this person is a ghost? We haven't found out for so long." "I didn't doubt him originally. When this person was in the palace, I had a good relationship, and I never listed him as a suspect. If I hadn't seen some peach petals on his feet, I wouldn't have done it." "Suspect? Yes, there's only a row of peach blossoms outside the main hall in this palace." Chapter 111 Arrangement. "Exactly, there are peach petals under his feet. He must have stayed outside the main hall, so I guess that he must go out to report the news tonight, but I didn't expect that he really guessed it." Li San looked at Qizi fiercely. "The commander is really wise. His Highness can choose the commander among the many servants, and it should be. How can he be like this person who can only do some things?" One person flattered. Li San looked bright, looked at the man with admiration, and said humbly, "If it is wise and wise, then it is Our Highness, and now I finally see it. In the past, His Highness made sacrifices in Qingzhou just to be able to wipe out these noble families today. That's right, this forbearance lasted for 5 years, and it's only now that it has shown its edge. The determination of Our Highness is really amazing." Another person said. Then someone else said, "Following such a highness, it is not impossible for Our Highness to fight for the throne in the future." The man didn't dare to say anything before he finished speaking, only to see Li San and the others all looking at him. Li Sansu said, "Don't talk nonsense. His Highness is now keeping a low profile. You don't want to participate in these things. You are my people. Just talk in front of me. If you chew your tongue outside, don't blame me for cutting him." Tongue. The 4 of them immediately fell silent, and all nodded. After observing the surroundings, Li Sam said, "The 2 of you will take people away first. You 2 will take advantage of the night to leave the city with me. Your Highness has made a mistake. These noble families must also have their own plans. Tonight, let's explore their arrangements." "Yes." The 4 responded, and the 2 took Qizi away, and the other 2 followed Li San to the outside of the city. When they arrived at the city gate, they showed the token, and the 3 walked out of the city gate to the lotus pond outside the city. This lotus pond is a beautiful place in Qingzhou. The tributaries of the Zhaoqing River lead to this place. Surrounded by woods and green grass, a clear lake with a length of hundreds of meters from north to south is formed. Li San and others came from this place under the moonlight. The dim light can see things. The 3 did not walk on the official road, but shuttled through the woods on both sides of the official road. After walking for more than 20 miles, they saw a lotus pond glowing with silver light from a distance, and at the same time they saw a lot of black shadows coming and going in the moonlight. The 3 of them have been moving forward in secret, and at this time, the 3 of them lie on the ground and observe in Bowen College. Xiao Ming taught Li San a lot of reconnaissance skills and anti-reconnaissance knowledge on the way to the Lotus Pond. Li San did not take the method of going straight in the place without the cover of the woods. He took the S-shaped route. If he was targeted, it would also prevent the other party from quickly judging his own destination. Moreover, when the three of them marched, they did not walk together, but after they were divided, they were separated by a long distance, and they often lay on the ground to listen to the movement around them. Commander, there are at least 1,000 people here. One person asked softly. Li San frowned. This trouble, can His Highness's 500 people handle so many people? Let's go back and tell His Highness, said one person. No hurry, wait a while. We want to get the most accurate information. Li San said. The three continued to lie on the ground. After midnight, all the people around the Lotus Pond poured into the woods on the south side of the Lotus Pond, about 1,300 people at this time. Li San returned to Qingzhou City. With the two of them, tomorrow is the day to go out in spring. This Huangmen banquet kept Xiao Ming awake all night. Not long ago, he was just an otaku in a laboratory, but now he has to undergo a cruel test like a prince. It was the first time he faced such a dangerous scene. It is false to say that he is not afraid, but he knows that he has to go. This is an experience that a prince must endure now, whose status does not allow him to be cowardly and retreat. In the changes of dynasties throughout the ages, those who survived are all talented, broad-minded, courageous and wise. He can easily create an industrial dynasty, but the knowledge of ruling fiefs is what he should really learn, otherwise everything he creates will only be reduced to the wedding dress of others. This time, he took the initiative to attend the banquet. One was to lead the snake out of the hole, and at the same time to establish his own image in Qingzhou, and the other dared to take risks and fearless the prince. Only in this way, both officials and the common people can truly admire him from the heart, and in their hearts will there be an image of King Qi that makes them worthy of allegiance. After all, who would be loyal to a timid and wretched person, and a person whose mission is to get rid of the wealthy and for the sake of righteousness is different? And in his opinion, the purpose of Xiao Yuanzi, the founding prince of the great Yu kingdom, was to select a good enough heir. What qualifications does the lost prince in Hongdu have to control a huge empire? Therefore, among his brothers and sisters, there are many talented people. If he wants to fight with them, he also needs to sharpen himself and let himself see the big scene. Otherwise, the direction of the sword will immediately scare the Yuan, which will be laughable and generous. While he was thinking about it, footsteps came from outside the door, followed by Li San's voice. His Royal Highness, Sun Yuanzi ambushed more than 1,000 people in the grove of Lotus Pond. Li San said. Xiao Ming hadn't slept, just waiting for news from Li San. Hearing this, he opened the door and Li San walked in. More than 1,000 people? Xiao Ming asked again. Yes, there should be no more than 1,500 people. Li San said. Well, I didn't expect Sun Yuanzi to spend money this time. I'm afraid all the parts are in it. Xiao Ming sneered. Li San was worried. His Royal Highness should consider it carefully. This matter is not a child's play. The arrow is on the string, so I have to send it. Xiao Ming was also a little worried, but now, he can only bite the bullet. You quickly invite Lu Xiaoyi and Pang Changshi to discuss the countermeasures. Li San replied yes, turned around and left, and after a while, Lu Fei and Pang Yukan arrived at the Qi Wangfu. Knowing what Li San had obtained, Lu Fei said, His Royal Highness, if this is the case, during the banquet, we can ambush the Qingzhou army on the north side. Li San said that no one enters the woods on the north side, but there is grass in front of the woods on the south side. Generally speaking, banquets are held here. The woods on the north side are hundreds of meters away from the Lotus Pond. I'm afraid that the rescue will not be enough. Pang Yukan said. Lu Fei said carelessly, this time, I will take more than 30 elites to protect His Highness. It's not a problem to persist for a while. Pang Yukan was silent, but looked at Lu Fei. Xiao Ming sighed. Xiao Lu, this king's life and wealth can be handed over to you. Chapter 112. In the early morning, the first ray of dawn pierced through the morning glow and shone on the oil paper windows of Prince Qi's mansion, and the servants of the mansion were busy. Xiao Ming, who had hardly slept all night, got up early, and Li San was arranging the servants who would go with Xiao Ming to the banquet in the spring. A vassal king naturally has to bring a lot of servants to follow, so Li San has placed a lot of secret guards among these servants. In addition to Lu Fei's 30 elites, there are more than 20 secret guards mixed in with the servants to protect Xiao Ming's safety. Everything in King Qi's mansion seemed very peaceful, but Lu Fei and Pang Yukan were already busy. Last night, The King Zhao army had already left the city and lay in ambush in the woods, and he arranged how to make the cavalry of the King Zhao army quickly rush to help. Ancient wars were similar to gang fights in the streets, and a battle would last a long time as long as it is guaranteed that Xiaoming will not be controlled by the wealthy family immediately. The King Zhao army can delay it for a long time. The time gradually approached noon, and Xiaoming set off surrounded by servants on the grass on the south side of the lotus pond. Qin Chuanian had already asked the servants to prepare the ingredients for the banquet that day, just waiting for everyone to arrive. When Xiaoming arrived, Qin Chuanian, Sun Yuanzi and others were all there, and many nobles were sitting on the grass and chatting. His Royal Highness, you are here. Qin Chuanian saw Xiaoming and walked over diligently. When the other nobles saw this, they stood up and saluted, being led by Qin Chuanian to sit on the main seat. Xiaoming returned the salute one by one and said, at this time, everyone, please sit down. Pang Yukan was sitting next to Xiaoming at this moment, with 30 guards wearing plate armor on either side. Sun Yuanzi glanced sideways at the King Zhao troops in full armor, and said with a smile, Your Highness, today's banquet is a banquet for us and His Royal Highness to turn our battles into jade and silk. After that, we will disband the tribe and return the land. Now these soldiers are on the side. It's a little out of style. Before Xiaoming could speak, Lu Fei said, Member Sun has been thinking too much. Even if Member Sun goes out, he will bring his family guards with him. King Qi, who is a daughter of gold, is extremely simple to travel with only 30 guards. What Lu Xiaoyi said is true. Qin Chuanian flattered, His Royal Highness is identified prince. A few days ago, Her Royal Highness the Princess was guarded by more than 1,000 people. These people are not worth making a fuss about. Sun Yuanzi looked arrogant. When Xiaoming came here, in his opinion, Xiaoming had already fallen into the palm of his hand, so he made rude words at this time. He consciously didn't need to be a servant. For him, he had his own plans. The Sun family and the Wang family have been married for many generations, and the secret activities of the Wang family. Naturally, the Sun family did not participate in all of them. Because of this, he knew that if Xiaoming found out about the Wang family's affairs, their Sun family would not be able to escape the death penalty, and the wealthy family who was coerced by him this time didn't know that they were just Sun Yuanzi's pawns. Today's Sun family is fully prepared. This time it's all right. If they fail, they will flee to the grasslands. Xiaoming, even the emperor can't do anything with him. These were all Wen Chengchao's previous plans, but he did not expect that this plan is now implemented by the Sun family. After pondering for a while, Sun Yuanzi made up his mind, and he said, It's because I worry too much. I'm afraid His Highness has been guarding me all the time. Or why did the Wang family suddenly disappear? Although I am not the Wang family, I am extremely fond of Wen Chengchao. Understand, it is too late for him to curry favor with the princess, so how can he be willing to assassinate the princess? Your Highness, the right and wrong, I am afraid you know better than me. With a sneer, Sun Yuanzi continued, following the matter of Wen Chengchao, His Highness immediately issued a decree to weaken us and other King Zhao nobles. It is already impatient to wait. It can be seen that His Highness already hates me to the bone. In an instant, the entire grass fell into silence, and everyone's breathing sounded like thunder. Qin Chuanian's face was pale and his body trembled slightly. He changed his expression and said, Sun Yuanzi, what do you mean? Why do you speak so rudely when you invite His Highness to the banquet? Qin Chuanian, and you have really lost the face of our King Zhao nobles. If you ask the top and bottom of the Great Yu Kingdom, the nobles in that place are not the lords and have to be invited as guests, but you are willing to become those pariahs, just like pigs and dogs. You have lost all the face of our wealthy family. Sun Yuanzi pointed at Qin Chuanian and was not polite at all. Wei Hong said angrily, Sun Yuanzi, what do you mean? Are you deliberately making trouble? You are disrespectful. Although we have disbanded the trilogy and returned the arable land, but we are doing business in an open and honest way. What's the shame of yet? What shame do we have? It's a shame. It's a shame for the wealthy. As soon as Wei Hong's voice fell, the wealthy family headed by Sun Yuanzi and the wealthy family headed by Qin Chuanian immediately quarreled, and the scene was in chaos. Everyone, stop arguing, let Sun Yuanwei finish talking. At this time, Xiaoming suddenly said Sun Yuanzi was impatient, and as soon as he arrived, he couldn't wait to look ugly to him. His Royal Highness, Xiaoming's meaning is very simple, please take back your life and return the Wang family's innocence. A strange smile appeared on the corner of Sun Yuanzi's mouth. Good one returns the innocence of the Wang family. If this king admits it, Sun Yuanwei will go to Chang'an to file a complaint. At that time, it is impossible to say that this king will be convicted and cut off his position as the vassal king. Xiao Ming said lightly. Exactly, the position of the vassal king cannot be held by the virtuous. Your Highness is obviously unvirtuous. Otherwise, so many noble families will not be opposed to His Highness. Even the members of Qin are forced to do so. Your Highness, can't you see it now? Ha ha ha. Xiao Ming suddenly burst out laughing. It's good that those who gain the Tao will help more, and those who lose the Tao will have little help. Sun Yuanwei might as well ask the people, who has the Tao more? What do those pariahs know? My Dao is the Dao of the wealthy. This world is the world of the wealthy. Fair enough. After Sun Yuanzi finished speaking, a whistle suddenly sounded, and then there was a sudden scream of rushing from the woods. Lu Fei's expression changed greatly, and he immediately took 30 guards to protect Xiao Ming. At the same time, there was a sudden scream at the banquet. Sun Yuanzi was shocked when he saw this, and at the moment when the whistle sounded, the servants above the banquet suddenly burst into flames, killing dozens of nobles who were with him in a row, and several of them came directly to him. Protect me! Sun Yuanzi roared, and more than a dozen servants rushed up immediately. The scene at this time had scared Qin Chuanyan into a daze. He looked at the north side blankly, and also rushed out some people from the woods, all of them wearing silver armor, murderous. Chapter 113 Sword and Blood Shadow. Sun Yuanzi conspired to assassinate the king of Qi. Anyone involved will be killed, Li Sam shouted loudly at this time. The servant who violently murdered was the assassin disguised by the secret guard. In just an instant, most of the wealthy clan who conspired with Sun Ziyan were killed or injured, and Sun Yuanzi also retreated repeatedly under the attack of the secret guards. However, the Sun family rushing out of the woods quickly approached, and the secret guard had to temporarily evacuate to protect Xiao Ming. Sun Yuanzi laughed at this time. Xiao Ming, you are really stupid. Since you have already found out that this is a Hongmen banquet, I didn't expect you to come. Since you came to the door, you can't blame me if this king doesn't come. How can you rebels show up? Everyone understands the principle of catching thieves and catching the king. Now it's up to Godswill to stand on whose side. Xiao Ming said coldly. Last night, Sun Yuanzi and others did not live in Qingzhou City, but chose to rest in Wubao outside the city, which made it difficult to arrest them if he rashly leads the Qingzhou army to attack the Sun family's ambush. Sun Yuanzi will inevitably escape in advance. As a result, his plan to eradicate these wealthy clans in one fell swoop failed. If these wealthy clans fled, no matter who they were under, they would inevitably harm the interests of Qingzhou, especially Sun Yuanzi's lineage. If they really escape to the grasslands, it will be a disaster for Qingzhou in the future. It was for this reason that he took the risk. After all, if these people escaped, it would be very difficult to arrest people in an area with vast areas and sparsely populated areas and backward communications. While the two of them were talking, the Sun family bureau that rushed out from the south was less than 100 meters away from Xiao Ming. These tribes were different styles of armor, cloth armor, leather armor, and chain armor, and the weapons in their hands are also varied, including swords and sticks. There are almost 18 kinds of weapons. Kill. A burst of roar sounded in the rushing part. Xiao Ming saw that among these parts, there were some people in fine scale armor who were directing the part to divide into 3 paths, and the middle path rushed directly to him. The 2 wings were ready to outflank him from the side, besieging him. Lu Fei obviously noticed this, and he shouted to Xiao Ming, His Royal Highness, retreat quickly. If we let them complete the encirclement, we will not be able to escape. Xiao Ming didn't speak, and ran to the north with Pang Yukin to join the Qingzhou army that rushed over. Sun Yuanzi saw it. How could he let Xiao Ming go like this? This is a big gamble. The loser will not only lose his life, but also his entire family and property. Now that he has bet everything, he will be rewarded if he fails. Give it to me. Sun Yuanzi picked up a sharp long sword and shouted to the other nobles. Those nobles drew their swords at the same time, and rushed to Lu Fei and the others with their accompanying servants, each with a hideous face, like a ghost. His Royal Highness, leave us alone. You and Pang Changshi go first. Lu Fei shouted loudly when Sun Yuanzi and others entangled him. In an instant Pang Yukin held Xiao Ming. His Royal Highness, there can be no woman's kindness at this time, otherwise it will only be a drag on Captain Lu. More than 1,000 people rushed towards him armed with weapons. Xiao Ming had only seen such a scene in movies before. Only then did he realize how much courage those people in the movie who dared to face the mighty army needed, because just this galloping momentum makes people terrified, even if it's just a group of inferior clan tribes. After nodding, Xiao Ming quickly ran towards the Qingzhou army. Lu Fei and others lined up in a straight line and immediately blocked Sun Yuanzi and others. Seeing Xiao Ming fleeing to the Qingzhou army, Sun Yuanzi's expression changed greatly, and he shouted, Fast arrows. As soon as his voice fell, more than 20 archers bent their bows and shot arrows at the same time, aiming at Xiao Ming. Seeing this, Lu Fei roared loudly, and the long sword in his hand opened and closed. After all, he was someone who had really experienced battles on the battlefield. There were no fancy moves in every move, and every move was fatal. How could the servant of the Sun family standing in front of them be his opponent? And several people were killed one after another. Sun Yuanzi hid behind the servant to look for an opportunity. After Lu Fei stabbed the sharp sword into the servant's chest, he took the opportunity to slash at Lu Fei's chest. Boom came the dull metallic sound, and a sword mark remained on Lu Fei's chest. Lu Fei drew his sword, and a column of blood rushed out from the servant's chest, dyeing his armor red, and the thick bloody smell permeated. Lu Fei smiled cruelly. Mr. Sun, this armor was specially forged by a certain family by His Highness. It's hard enough. Sun Yuanzi complained again and again. Although Lu Fei and others only had more than 30 people, they were firmly blocked in front of them like a steel city wall. These people were originally the elites of the King's Hao army, and they were 1 to 10, but now the armor on their body is full of protection, and the ordinary slashing of the sword could not hurt the soldiers wrapped in the armor. In the hand-to-hand combat, his men hit the key points of these soldiers several times, but to no avail. The servants beside him were almost dead and wounded. Sun Yuanzi glanced at the part that was only 10 meters away from him and sneered, "Let's see how hard you can be." After he finished speaking, he quickly backed away. And more than 1,000 troops had already rushed to the front, and one of them was in the lead with a double hammer in his hand, and his back was staggering when Lu Fei saw lingering in his heart. Xiao Ming told him very clearly that what this plate armor was most afraid of was bludgeoning. If the double hammer in this man's hand hid him, it would not be as simple as slashing with a sword. Looking at Xiao Ming, who had already run halfway, Lu Fei shouted and rushed up. At this time he couldn't retreat. Whizzing, the continuous sharp arrows rang in his ears. Xiao Ming only felt a huge thrust coming from behind him, and he almost fell while sprinting. He didn't have to look back to know that he was shot by a bow and arrow before he came. He specially put on the breastplate, with metal plate protection on the front and back, and for safety, he also chose a thicker set to wear. Since it is not a full-body armor, he can bear the weight. After running wildly for a while, Xiao Ming almost used all his strength. These days he was busy with construction and neglected to shoot arrows. It seems that he will have to pick it up in the future. Seeing that the King's Hao army was already in front of him, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. And when he turned around, he saw that Lu Fei had been surrounded by the Sun family. Lu Fei, he's really a tough general. His Highness replaced many of the family generals accompanying the 6 states, but Lu Fei was the only one left behind. Now that I think about it, His Highness understands Lu Fei's ability. Pang Yukan was panting when Xiao Ming first arrived in King's Hao. In addition to the generals he brought, he could also choose some generals from the local generals at that time. Xiao Ming was in a daze, but he let the wealthy family take the place of many generals, but Lu Fei was the only one left. In fact, in the beginning, Xiao Ming left Lu Fei just because he was angry with Lu Fei's thorn, and wanted to slowly rectify it, but Lu Fei's performance 3 years ago surprised him. Although he didn't like it, he still kept Lu Fei. Chapter 114 Battle Formation. I hope Captain Lu is okay. Thinking of the grievances with Lu Fei, it was all Xiao Ming's business in the past, but these days, only Lu Fei is available in this army. Don't worry, Your Highness. Thinking that Colonel Lu was able to come and go freely when the barbarians had thousands of horses back then, these trilogy were nothing but a mob, so how could they be the opponent of Colonel Lu? Pang Yukan was not worried at all when the two of them were talking. The King's Hao army had already joined forces with his Sun family. I saw that the King's Hao army, which was somewhat scattered, quickly turned into neat phalanx in the chaos. The first row is the sword and shield, followed by the spearmen, and the last row is the sword and shield kill. The King's Hao army shouted loudly, and stabbed a row of spears from the shield formation formed by the sword and shield hands, and rushed over to the Sun family and immediately fell down. A row kill. The spear was retracted, the sword and shield hand took a step forward, and then the spear stabbed out again, and the scream of winning streak sounded again. At this time, the Sun family's troop had no rules to speak of, but was crowded into a mess. They had never received strict battle formation training, and they only practiced some swords, guns and sticks on weekdays. In terms of personal strength, they are not inferior to the soldiers of the King's Hao army, but at this time, facing the tight battle formation, they have no way to deal with it. The spear pierced, and the King's Hao army steadily advanced. The sword and shield hands in the front row were injured and fell down, and the sword and shield hands in the back immediately made up, and the formation was not chaotic at all. After a while, The King's Hao military change advanced to Lu Fei at this time. Lu Fei and the big man holding the double hammer were fighting fiercely, and a deep groove was smashed into Lu Fei's chest by the sledgehammer. The big man was even more seriously injured. His arms and thighs exposed outside were drawn with long cuts, and blood was flowing. The King's Hao army pushed in front of him, and Lu Fei glanced at the formation he usually trained with satisfaction, and shouted to one of the captains, "Move forward, kill." Another roar sounded, and the King's Hao army continued to advance like a harvesting machine. Sun Yuanzi was hiding in the distance at this time, worried in his heart. He looked at Xiaoming on the opposite side, knowing that there was no chance to catch him at this time. A trace of sadness flashed in his heart, and a frenzy surged in Sun Yuanzi's eyes. He shouted, "Kill, kill, kill, whoever can take Xiaoming's head, I will give him 500,000 taels of silver." In normal times, there would be fanatical cheers in the Sun family's trilogy, but at this time, there was only fear in their hearts. The sharp spears of the King's Hao army are like death gaunts, and every attack is a harvest of life. Sun Yuanzi directed several attempts to break through the shield wall, but they were all stabbed to death by spears. The fear became bigger and bigger in the Sun family part, and the accumulation of corpses in front of them aggravated the spread of this fear. Escape. You can't win. I don't want to die. In the continual battle damage, the Sun family finally collapsed, and signs of collapse began to appear. Those who had fought heroically kept retreating, and some people fled directly. Seeing this scene, Sun Yuanzi roared, "No one is allowed to retreat. Those who retreat will be killed." After all, he raised his hand and killed an escaped servant. It's just that more and more deserters appeared, scattered like a tide, and Sun Yuanzi was killing one and the second. Looking at more and more deserters, Sun Yuanzi's face was pale. He failed, and once the troops were broken, the ambush would also fail. After hesitating for a while, he took a few cronies and also followed the deserters away. In the Sun family part in front, someone saw that Sun Yuanzi was gone, and immediately shouted. Member Sun ran away in an instant. The Sun family had no intention of fighting anymore. They just obeyed the order, and they didn't even know who they were going to kill. At this time, the King's Hao army appeared, and they still knew it in their hearts now that Sun Yuanzi has escaped. Why should they continue to work hard? Most of them surrendered their weapons, and some people scattered like birds and beasts. More than 500 corpses were left on the battlefield. The beautiful lotus pond was dyed red with blood, and the strong smell of blood filled the air, which was disgusting. Looking at the mess on the ground, Xiaoming said to Lu Fei, "No matter what, let me catch Sun Yuanzi. None of them can escape." Lu Fei said. As soon as his voice fell, a hoof sound came from far and near, and 300 cavalrymen appeared in the direction where the Sun family's tribe fled. Those who escaped were driven back, and they dropped their weapons and surrendered. 500 people died in battle, and 700 or 800 surrendered. This time Sun Yuanzi's plan was completely thwarted. After a while, these people were all driven together, but Sun Yuanzi and those wealthy families were still not seen. Where is Sun Yuanzi? Whoever said it was rewarded. More than 800 Sun family members squatted on the ground. Lu Fei asked. Xiaoming and Pang Yukan also came over at this time. They searched the crowd and did not see Sun Yuanzi. "No, everyone is here," Lu Fei said through gritting his teeth. Xiaoming glanced at the concave plate armor on Lu Fei's chest and said, "You should go back to the city to find the medical officer. Looking at it like this, it is estimated that a few bones will be broken. Who can hurt you, Captain Lu, like this?" Pang Yukan said. Lu Fei pointed to a big man squatting in the crowd and said, "It's him. This kid really has a lot of strength. If it were someone else, he would probably be killed. This guy is not bad, Your Highness. Can the last commander be able to do it? Get it over here. Let's think about it from a long-term perspective. Let's look for Sun Yuanzi and others first." The three of them swept towards the surrendered Sun family again. Xiaoming said, "Let them walk over one by one." Lu Fei nodded and let the prisoners pass in front of Xiaoming one by one. Soon, more than 800 people passed by, and several wealthy families who were hiding in them were all arrested, but Sun Yuanzi disappeared. "I've seen a ghost." Lu Fei frowned. Could it be that he was killed? Xiaoming and Pang Yukan looked at the corpses all over the ground. Xiaoming asked, "What about these corpses? Usually some people are hired to bury the body." Pang Yukan said. After saying this, Pang Yukan understood and said to Lu Fei, "Check the bodies one by one." The King's Hao army immediately began to search the body. After a while, they immediately brought a person over. It turned out to be Sun Yuanzi. It turned out that in the panic, he could not escape, and immediately disguised himself as a dead person and mixed in the pile of corpses. When the husband collected the body, he looked for an opportunity to escape, But he was still found. Sun Yuanwei spends so much time trying to kill this king, but it's too much trouble. But 500,000 taels of silver is too low for this king's head. They all say that Sun Yuanwei is stingy, but I didn't expect it to be true. Sun Yuanzi snorted and said, if you want to kill or cut it, you can listen to it, and I want everyone in Dao to see how Xiao Ming treats the wealthy. Isn't it because of the throne that you worked hard to rule? Look at that wealthy family at that time will support you. P.S. Tomorrow's 3 shifts, I hope you will support a lot. Snails, thank you. Chapter 115 Disposal. The spring breeze blew with a hint of warmth, and the leaves made a rustling sound. If it weren't for this situation, this would be a spring's intention. This king does not need the support of the noble family, nor does the great Yu kingdom. The history created by the noble family for thousands of years should also be written by the millions of people in the world. The agitated voice came from Xiao Ming's mouth. What Sun Yuanzi saw in Xiao Ming's eyes was ridicule, which was the contempt they saw when they saw those pariahs. How dare you? Sun Yuanzi couldn't believe that Xiao Ming would treat the wealthy like this. For thousands of years, the local wealthy family has always been the target of the royal family, but this King Qi has done the opposite. It is because of this that even Wang Chengchao never thought that Xiao Ming would really clean up the Wang family so neatly that he died. Pang Yukin and Lu Fei cast their admiring glances at Xiao Ming. It was Xiao Ming's thought that made them willing to follow him to the death. Otherwise, he relied on the noble family like other vassal kings, and he was different from other vassal kings living at the bottom. They all felt the oppression of the people by the wealthy family, and they could do nothing about it. Now, they can finally laugh happily. There are still many things that this king dares to do, but unfortunately your Sun family will never be seen. Xiao Ming said to Lu Fei, all the nobles who participated in the rebellion will be put into prison, and the Dongxi will be beheaded tomorrow. Lu Fei responded loudly and led the King's Hao army to take away the prisoners. Sun Yuanzi and others. This is Pang Yukin asking, His Royal Highness, what about these noble clansmen? Thinking of Pang Yukin's words about the benevolence of women, Xiao Ming said, let's deal with it according to the law, and remind the rest of the wealthy family His Royal Highness is wise. The lower official will do it now. Pang Yukin said, with the disposal of the law, these wealthy clans will naturally loot their families and exterminate their families. Their property will be confiscated. Those who should be decapitated will be decapitated. Those who should be exiled should be exiled. And those who should be exiled will be exiled. If these rebellious wealthy clans are spared this time, it will only make other wealthy clans have more ideas. The cost of crime will become lower, and people will take risks. This is human nature and will remain unchanged through the ages. His Royal Highness, this matter has nothing to do with me, and Kaoman didn't know that Sun Yuanzi would have such an intention. At this time, Qin Chuanayan came over. His face was frightened, his hair was messy, and his clothes were torn. He fell and was very embarrassed when he fled just now. His Royal Highness Mingxia. The other nobles also knelt on the ground, trembling with fear. They were really scared. This was the first time the King's Hao army had killed someone. The corpse lying on the ground was a warning to them that the dignity of the royal family could not be violated. Get up. This king knows that you really support this king's decree, and this king clearly distinguishes between good and evil. Xiao Ming made a flat gesture. Qin Chuanayan burst into tears. His Royal Highness, I will definitely follow His Highness's lead in the future, and I will never dare to have two hearts, otherwise heaven and man will be punished. Xiao Ming chuckled. Qin Chuanayan was frightened. This time these wealthy families used to interact with Xiao Ming, and at the worst, they were just scolded. The situation at this time was different from the past, and he was naturally frightened because the King Qi in front of them was no longer a sleeping cat, but a man-eating tiger. For Xiao Ming, the noble family who obeyed the government's decree still had some effect on him. In addition to the teeth of these wealthy families, they are local private entrepreneurs according to modern parlance, and their business needs to cooperate with them to drive the economic development of the 6 states. He lifted Qin Chuanayan up and patted him on the shoulder. Member Qin's actions these days are what this king sees, and this king is even pleased. In the future, you will take over the business of the Wang family and the Sun family in the Chamber of Commerce. Bar it is necessary to kill chickens to warn the enemy, and to share the benefits for those who defect. Only in this way can the wealthy family be divided. When Xiao Ming said this, the other wealthy families who were kneeling on the ground suddenly felt like a reassurance. Qin Chuanayan was stunned for a moment and was overjoyed. He won the business share of the Wang family and the Sun family, and his losses could be quickly recovered. Moreover, the status of merchants in the 6 states has improved, and pure merchants seem to be so inferior. Thank you, Your Highness. What will Your Highness tell you in the future? The Qin family will not hesitate to go through fire and water. Qin Chuanayan said the matter was over. Soon, some civilians came to clean the battlefield. Xiao Ming said goodbye to Qin Chuanyan and others and went to Qingzhou City. Although he did not directly participate in the battle this time, he was injured in the end. The breastplate on his back was still shot through by the bow and arrow, but the bow and arrow only entered a little, and he suffered only skin trauma. It's just that he didn't dare to be careless. He knew the medical conditions of Dao country very well. If he got tetanus, he would die. Thinking of the medical conditions in Dao country, he wondered whether to add a medical course to Bowen College. In ancient wars, many soldiers did not die on the battlefield, but died of injuries and diseases. Before the advent of antibiotics, the mortality rate of wounded soldiers on the battlefield was very high. It wasn't until the advent of antibiotics that this phenomenon changed. Your Highness, your back was only slightly injured, but Colonel Lu's injury was relatively serious, and the bones on his chest seemed to be broken. In the medical hall in Qingzhou City, Dr. Sun said to Xiao Ming after the examination during the war, Lu Fei didn't feel anything, but at this time he looked in pain. Xiao Ming heard the words and said, "My injury is what I call it, I just need to clean it up, but I should bandage Lu Zuoyi's injury." Medical officer Sun nodded. Although Captain Lu's rib is broken, he simply didn't hurt his internal organs, otherwise the old man would be powerless. His Royal Highness, this injury is just a common occurrence for me, don't worry. Lu Fei laughed, and then he said seriously, "It's just that some soldiers have been seriously injured, and I hope Dr. Sun will bother." Dr. Sun had already examined the wounds of those soldiers, and one of the soldiers suffered a severe stab wound, which was caused by a sharp sword piercing through his armor. It is estimated that he will not survive. Dr. Sun sighed. Lu Fei's expression was gloomy. In fact, he also knew in his heart that there was basically no possibility of surviving after such a knife wound. Xiao Ming listened and suddenly said, "It's not necessarily impossible to survive. First disinfect the soldier with alcohol, and then put some fresh meat on him." Dr. Sun was stunned for a moment. "What is this alcohol? Fresh meat for wounds? Does your Highness also know medical skills?" "I understand a little bit." Xiao Ming said in ancient times, there were not many treatments for injuries, especially for deep wounds. Many people died of wound inflammation and infection. The two measures proposed by Xiao Ming, one is disinfection, the other is to prevent infection. This high concentration of alcohol only appeared in modern times after the Ming and Qing dynasties, and today's Daigua liquor is still rare, not to mention alcohol disinfection in medicine but not elsewhere. He has the conditions here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Medical Treatment. Hey, Dr. Sun, you can listen to His Highness. The current His Highness is really knowledgeable. Lu Fei was lying on the bed and smiled. Medical Officer Sun frowned. How can a doctor be benevolent, and if your Highness can't tell you a reason, this method would not be used by this old man. Now Xiao Ming is in a dilemma. The principle of alcohol disinfection cannot be explained by mouth, but needs to be proved by experiments. Fresh meat contains antibiotics, which basically prevent inflammation. But Xiao Ming knew all these things, but he couldn't convince Dr. Sun to just rely on his mouth. This Dr. Sun is a very personable person, and he is very confident in his medical skills, and has always scoffed at crooked ways. Xiao Ming said, "Since this is the case, Medical Officer Sun might as well do as this king said." "How can one life be so sloppy?" Dr. Sun frowned. Lu Fei said, "Anyway, you can't be saved, it's okay to try it." The old man just said that he would not be able to save his life, but he did not say that he would definitely die. "The way your Highness said, the old man has never heard of it. If your Highness can really heal the wounded, I have a patient with a rotting wound that cannot be treated," Dr. Sun said. Hearing this, Xiao Ming said, "Since this is the case, this king will prove it to Medical Officer Sun." After a brief treatment of the wound on his back, Medical Officer Sun led Xiao Ming to the medical officer's room, where a middle-aged man in ragged clothes lay on the ground, emitting a stench from his body. Beside the middle-aged man is a girl of 7 or 8 years old, sobbing softly. Seeing Dr. Sun coming out, the girl said sadly, "Dr. Sun, please save my father. My mother died early, and only father is left. Even if I sell myself, I will give you the consultation fee." Dr. Sun sighed. "Xia Hong, it's not that I can't save you, but that your father's wound has rotted away, and I can't do anything about it." When Xia Hong heard the words, she continued to sob again. Heartbroken, Xiao Ming's cry made Xiao Ming feel uncomfortable for a while. Although he is a prince of a country now, His soul is still in his previous life. He understands the suffering of the people, and knows that it is not easy for those living at the bottom to live. A simple patient can often bring down a family, but now such an event is repeating itself in front of him, and this is the people of his fifth Dr. Sun. You go find some blowfly maggots to put into the wounds of the wounded. Xiao Ming said at this time. Hearing this, Medical Officer Sun was stunned and said angrily, "How can your highness be so playful? How can maggots eat human flesh and blood? How can they still use maggots to treat wounds?" Medical Officer Sun just follow suit, otherwise he will just die. How can Medical Officer Sun have other methods now? Xiao Ming suddenly said in a solemn voice. He didn't blame Dr. Sun after all, the span of knowledge was too great. For people of this era, the method he said was simply ridiculous. Dr. Sun was silent, and King Qi said these strange methods again and again. Now, seeing his expression, he was not joking at all, so he had to sigh and do as he did. It's no secret in modern times that maggots are used to treat wounds, not fresh wounds, but infected, decaying wounds in modern medical students. This is called debridement. The wound can only heal if the outer rotting part is completely clean. The larvae of the blowfly are easy to find in the toilets everywhere in Dao country. Dr. Sun ordered the apprentice to quickly find clean larvae and put them into the wound of the middle-aged man. His Royal Highness, what about modern times? Dr. Sun asked, and now he doesn't understand at all. Remove the rotten parts of the outer layer, and let the maggots clean up the rotten flesh that cannot be completely removed. Xiao Ming said he is not a medical student, but the detailed steps of this treatment are clear in the tech library, and there are image data asking an apprentice to treat a rotting wound. Xiao Ming began to talk to Dr. Sun about the principle of the maggot to treat the infected and rotting wound, and also talked about the role of alcohol and fresh meat. However, the maggots are in the past, but the alcohol disinfection and antibiotics. Dr. Sun is at a loss, and there is no way to prove it with facts. He still couldn't understand. Besides, this was something he had never been in contact with. All that needs to be said, the doctors are benevolent. Since there is hope to heal the wounded, why should Medical Officer Sun care? What is the solution? Xiao Ming kicked the ball to Medical Officer Sun. This guy is a bit stubborn, pedantic, and always talks about the benevolence of doctors. When he said that, Dr. Sun was stumped. If he doesn't follow it and something happens, it will damage his medical ethics. He asked Zhao Long to fetch some alcohol and fresh meat and sent them to the medical officer. He ordered Lu Fei to recuperate at the medical officer, and he went straight back to the palace. Way 2 to see the effect. The matter of Sun Yuanzi's rebellion must be viewed squarely. When he returned to the palace, he personally wrote an article to denounce Sun Yuanzi and others for their rebellion. After getting the manuscript, Fan Zheng asked the newspaper to type and print it. In the next few days, Sun Yuanzi's rebellion spread to all parts of the 6 states, and Xiao Ming personally tested it, and the deeds of removing the Sun family also became a hot topic in the streets. In a restaurant in Qingzhou, several scholars sat around and read a newspaper together. The scholar holding the newspaper was dressed more ornately than other scholars. He bought the newspaper, and now he can only buy it at the newspaper office. Every newspaper is only sold for a penny, but there are still many scholars who are reluctant to buy it. Brother Du, what is written in this newspaper? You should read it quickly. The scholar known as Brother Du looked at the newspaper and shook his head. While the other scholars were very anxious yesterday, the fighting outside the city of Qingzhou had already been introduced into the city, but few people knew exactly why. Now that this newspaper has been published, many people are impatient to know what is going on. The scholar surnamed Du gently put down the newspaper and clasped his fist in the direction of Prince Qi's mansion. I didn't expect His Royal Highness Prince Qi to try to get rid of the rebellion of the Sun family. It's really heroic, and he's a role model for my generation. What is taking the risk? The other scholars became more and more anxious at this time. The scholar surnamed Du spoke in a succinct manner, and those scholars were fascinated by it. After listening, a scholar said, His Royal Highness first eradicated the Wang family, and now eradicated the Sun family and nearly 30 wealthy families. Almost half of the wealthy families in these 6 states have gone. Now the Qin family and Wei furniture are writing articles in newspapers, firmly supporting His Highness's decree. It seems that the situation in the 6 states is about to change. The wealthy family lost power. It was when our humble family was rising. You brothers in Taiwan should encourage themselves. Another person said that's natural. Now I am participating in the selection test of Bowen College. If I can enter Bowen College, my career is basically half successful. Other scholars also know about the selection examination of Bowen College. One of the students wondered, it just confuses me, why does Bowen College still have so many categories? P.S. There will be another chapter later. The data of the new book is not very good. I hope everyone will support it. It will continue to be updated 3 times tomorrow, and there will be more after it is on the shelves. Chapter 117 Reaction. Isn't it obvious? Different classes will do different things after they finish it too. Surnamed Shushank said it as a matter of course. That's why it's strange that the sages told us that reading is for self-cultivation, governance of the country, and peace in the world, for the sake of the official residents, for the country and the people. If this is the case, why should this Bowen Institute be divided into so many categories? The collection of classics and history is enough said. That's a bad statement. I feel that this Bowen College is different from a private school, and scholars don't have to focus on getting into the university, but they can also do their own thing. Someone said Brother Su said that you are not ready to take the imperial examination? The scholar surnamed Du asked, looking at a scholar in patched clothes. The scholar surnamed Su nodded, participating in the imperial examination every year, and failing every year. The family is getting poorer and poorer, and I am afraid that the entanglement of participating in the imperial examination will not come out. You can also survive the day. Brother Su is wrong. As the saying goes, the rich and the noble cannot be promiscuous, and the poor and the lowly cannot be moved, not to mention the 10 years of hard work. Even if Brother Su does not participate in the imperial examination, he can apply for the political history classification in the Bowen College, and it is also good to have an official career in Kingshao in the future of Brother Zhang. It's not that I don't want to, but just looking at the number of people on the political history register, I know that there are 10,000 people fighting for the single plank bridge. Now that a certain person is over 20, he can't afford it. The scholar surnamed Su sighed deeply. The atmosphere was a little embarrassing, and the scholar surnamed Du said, it's bad, just talking about the Sun family's treason. Why is it related to the Bowen College again? Everyone smiled bitterly. It was precisely because the Sun family and other wealthy families were destroyed that they paid attention to Bowen College. The wealthy family was destroyed. There must be many vacant positions in these 6 states, and this is the time to be an official. Different from the reactions of the scholars, when the reporter of the newspaper read the newspaper to the people of Zhugia village, there was a burst of cheers, followed by Chitos. Chitos King Qi's reputation once again took root in the hearts of the common people. He was a vassal king who was not afraid of the wealthy and was willing to make profits for the people. Now this vassal king is as tall as a hero in their hearts. Just ask, who would dare to go to a banquet when they knew the danger? In order to eradicate the harm of the wealthy, more people are concerned about the future. According to the newspaper, the property of these wealthy families will be confiscated. People whose fields were occupied by the wealthy families in the past can report to the local government. After the government has verified, the land will be returned. This news made the people more and more excited. The last time the Wang family happened, many people had already obtained fertile land, and the benefits in front of them convinced the people that this was not a lie. King Qi did what he said. After cheering, they listened and thought about the land they had been looted by the wealthy after adding the reclaimed land. Many of them even have hundreds of acres of land. Father, if our family's land is to be returned, will we finish farming this land? Zhu Wuliu asked his father. Zhu Da said, Sainer is right, Dad, there is so much more land in the production team, and it can't be cultivated unless you buy more cattle. Let's wait for the harvest this time. The production team said that if the harvest is good, they will sell part of the grain to buy cattle. I used to worry when there was no land to plant, but now I'm worried when there is too much land. Zhu Wuliu's father laughed it out. Zhu Wuliu's mother gave her husband a white lance and said, just be happy, I won't bend you down when I see it. I'm happy too. Zhu Wuliu said suddenly, I still have to marry a daughter-in-law. Hearing the words, the family burst into laughter on the threshing floor. The villagers of Zhugia village gathered together one by one, and everyone's eyes were filled with imagination for the future. Land is the life of farmers, and now Xiaoming gives them land, which means giving them everything. The Zhu family was talking and laughing when suddenly Zhu Sansi, who had been silent, said, Father, Mother, I want to join the army. Your mother is stubborn. What do you want to be? There is no one in the family farming, so you are going to be a soldier. Zhu Wuliu's father scolded, and almost kicked him when the Kingshao army was besieging and suppressing the Sun's family. Zhu Sansi was carrying firewood into the city to sell. Not only was he not afraid when he saw this fight, but he was shocked by the mighty armor of the Kingshao army. When he got home, his mind was full of the Kingshao army, and his heart was itching. How good would it be if he were a member of that battle formation? Father, if there is no part of the Kingshao army besieging and suppressing the nobles this time, can our family get the land back? It's ugly. If the barbarians come again that day, what's the use of keeping more land? Zuzu 3 or 4 argued. Zhu Sansi's father was silent, and the people around him also stopped because of Zhu Sansi's words at this time. They remembered that what they got now was fished by King Qi from the sea of corpses and blood for them. King Qi was willing to take risks for the people of the fiefdom. Shouldn't they protect King Qi and protect their own land? Do your best, Sansi, you can think about it. If you go to serve as a soldier for King Qi, you can't be a coward on the battlefield. Zhu Sansi's father said sternly. Zhu Sansi said excitedly, "Father, you agreed this kid is usually silent, and what he said this time made Dad unable to say it. You are right. If no one is a soldier, His Highness has no soldiers, how can he fight the barbarians? I'm going to be a soldier too." A voice came from a nearby family. "I'll go as well." For a while, the voices of young men joining the army continued to sound on the threshing ground. The reporter who was reading the newspaper stopped in the middle. He silently wrote down what he saw today. Suddenly, he remembered a sentence he asked Mr. many years ago, "What is the heart of the people?" At that time, the teacher said, "The people's heart is food, the people's heart is a steady stream of soldiers, and the people's heart is the people who transport food on the battlefield. Without the people's heart, a country lacks soldiers, and a war cannot be lost. 10 times 100 times, a steady stream of soldiers can still win the war in the end." At this time, it is the scene that Mr. is a reporter. The more places he goes and the more things he sees, King Zhao is constantly changing, and this change is the embodiment of King Qi's thought. Although initially opposed to this kind of work, he has now found himself enjoying it, continuing to convey news, and constantly reflect the following issues. The newspaper office is the link between the Qi palace and the people at the bottom. He feels that he is not an official, but he is better than an official. Putting away the newspaper, he went to the next village, and he was looking forward to more changes in King Zhao in the future. Chapter 118. Governor's Office. Pang Yukin is reviewing news from state newspapers. The Sun family was wiped out, and the next day, in the east city of King Zhao, all the participants in this incident were beheaded and displayed to the public. He was oppressed by the wealthy family for many years, and now the wealthy family has been destroyed. When Sun Yuanzi was taken to the execution ground, countless people threw stones and rotten vegetables at him. It's just that Xiaoming is now recovering from his injuries, but he can't relax. One is the disposal of these wealthy families, and the other is the matter of Bowen College. After instructing him about these two things, Xiaoming acted as a hands-off shopkeeper and went to fight against Dr. Sun. Looking at the pile of official documents on the desk, he couldn't help but have a big head. Sometimes this King Qi is serious, and sometimes it seems that he is not doing his job properly. Pang Changshi. This is the registration booklet for Bowen College. This time a tall and fair-faced young man walked over. The young man was wearing a green official robe, which contrasted sharply with a purple official robe on Pang Yukin. Officials of the Great Yu Kingdom are distinguished by the color of their official robes. Officials of the 3rd rank and above wear purple official robes, officials of the 4th rank and 5th rank wear vermilion, officials of the 6th and 7th ranks wear green official robes, and officials of the 8th and 9th rank wear cyan official robe. At the same time, the ornaments on the belts of officials are divided into 4 categories: jade, gold, silver, and copper. Pang Yukin glanced at the young man, smiled, and asked, "Xingcheng, it's been a month since I've been here in King Zhao. How do you feel?" This person's name is Zan Xingcheng, a native of Chang'an. Pang Yukin used to see Zan Xingcheng's talent when he was in Chang'an. After King Zhao needed a large number of talents to replace officials, he sent a letter to Chang'an. A month ago, Zan Xingcheng arrived in King Zhao and was appointed by him as King Zhao Sima. This King Zhao is different from other places, and His Royal Highness King Qi is also different from other princes. Zan Xingcheng pondered and said. Pang Yukin seemed to be interested in Zan Xingcheng, so he asked, "What is the difference?" "Let's hear it." Since ancient times, Jiangshan Shiji has been based on agriculture. Although His Royal Highness also attaches great importance to agricultural production, it seems that he is more interested in the benefits of commerce. Although this commercial profit can make a fortune, it is like a rootless plant. If it encounters war, materials will be scarce. The trade route was interrupted, and the people of the fiefs had to rely on grain trade after all. Zan Xingcheng said. Moreover, merchants pursue profit, just like barbarians live in pursuit of water and grass. Wherever the interests are, the merchants will go wherever they go, and they will not stay in a certain place. They lack responsibility for their own nation-state, and what's more, for the sake of business, Li bribes the government for personal gain and brings harm to the country and the people. But now this businessman has not formed a climate and can still be suppressed. If the future is big, the harm will not be much different from the wealthy family. Zan Xingcheng said lightly. Pang Yukin looked surprised. Looking at Zan Xingcheng with surprise in his eyes, he said, "Your statement is 7 points similar to His Highness's statement. Your Highness also said that?" Zan Xingcheng asked in surprise. Pang Yukin nodded. "It's just that Your Highness said that agriculture is the foundation of a country, commerce is the foundation of a prosperous country, and industry is the foundation of a strong country. One of the three cannot be lacking. Although businessmen seek profits, they only need to master the business that is related to the lifeline of the country. In their own hands, then they won't be able to turn around." Zan Xingcheng said, "Since Your Highness has been thinking for so long, I will think too much." Pang Yukin smiled openly and said, "Xingcheng, let you come all the way to Qingzhou, but now I want you to be a Qingzhou Sima. Is it too wrong to you?" Zan Xingcheng bowed his body and clasped his fists, and said, "How dare you? I'm just a person waiting to be filled at home. Now I can have an official and a half job, and I can serve His Highness. I'm already satisfied. Well, I don't want to be humiliated. This is the reason why I value you. I have always been the prefect of Qingzhou, and the post of Sima is to assist the prefect in handling government affairs. When you are competent in another day, I will propose to His Highness and recommend you as the prefect." Zan Xingcheng's expression was as usual, without a trace of excitement. He said, "If I am appointed as the prefect of Qingzhou on the recommendation of a long history, there are few people in Qingzhou officials who can be convinced, and Zan only wants to win by ability." Pang Yukin smiled even more. He said, "I know your temper, but Maxima also needs bowl, so, I have something in front of me that I don't have the skills to do, and I have always disliked this kind of thing about looting the family and destroying the family. How about leaving it to you? Let His Highness see your abilities." Pang Changshi, "This matter is very important, this." Zan Xingcheng hesitated. "If it's an ordinary trivial matter, why should I leave it to you?" Pang Yukin said sternly, "You should treat it as the government affairs that I have assigned to you, and you must complete it." Pang Yukin looked firm, and Zan Xingcheng had no choice but to nod his head at this point. The two talked about Bowen College again, and the two seemed to be expecting the 6 state scholars competing to apply for political history. "It's a pity that Your Highness has worked so hard, but isn't the purpose of studying to get to the top of the university, and to be successful in the future?" Pang Yukin's thoughts were no different from those of the scholars. Zan Xingcheng was silent. After arriving in Qingzhou, he carefully examined the customs of Qingzhou, and carefully explored the strange decrees of King Qi these days. He finally came to a conclusion that he couldn't believe, that is, the King of Qi did not agree that studying was for the sake of officialdom. Since ancient times, the status of scholars, farmers, businessmen, and scholars has been the highest. What's more, the King of Qi seemed to be very contemptuous of Confucianism, and he did not even have a Confucian scholar under his command. And this ancient land of Qilu was originally the hometown of the sages of Confucius. This Guifu Confucian family is honored for generations and admired by scholars, but now that there are a lot of vacancies in the 6 states, King Qi seems to have no consideration for the Confucius family in Guifu at all. On the contrary, he runs his own school and selects officials, which is maverick. His Highness's behavior is different from ordinary people. If he is the same as others, he is not King Qi, and the land of the 6 states is not still in the hands of the noble family." Zan Xingcheng smiled lightly. Pang Yukin froze for a moment, then smiled wryly. Zan Xingcheng was right. If the King of Qi followed the old rules, the Qingzhou would not have changed as it is today. Times create heroes, and it is not possible that this King of Qi is a geek at this time. Xiaoming, who was discussing medical skills with Medical Officer Sun, sneezed. Dr. Sun joked, "Your Highness, is someone talking bad about you behind your back? Maybe it's Pang Changshi again. His mouth has always been strong. When he sees him, the king wants to go around him." Xiaoming said, "Dr. Sun is almost old and young, but he is very accurate in seeing people." He said, "Pang Changshi is a little impatient, but the people in the city have a good impression of him, but the Sima who recently came from the Qingzhou government is not bad." Chapter 119 Theory of Medicine. "You mean Qingzhou Sima's Hang Xingcheng?" Xiaoming had some impressions of this person. It was recommended by Pang Yukin, and he was later arranged to be a Sima in the Qingzhou government. This Sima's position in the Great Yu Kingdom is very light, basically equivalent to a modern mayor's secretary and the like. Yes, it seems to be called Zan Xingcheng. Dr. Sun seemed to remember Xiaoming now has advisors under his command. He is no better than Pang Yukin in literature, Lu Fei in martial arts, and Li Kaiwen in business. There are really no other people in his hands in the past. He didn't notice if he didn't ask about government affairs, but now when he wants to use people, he finds that he can't find them, although Pang Yukin has the ability. After all, a person's ability is limited, and it is impossible to do everything. Moreover, Pang Yukin is proficient in logistics. Let him be in charge of horse administration, agricultural production, and infrastructure construction. He is quite handy, but when dealing with some special events, he is sometimes a fool. Basically, Pang Yukin is a figure similar to Xiao He, who is very proficient in government affairs, but he is not suitable to be a strategist. To put it simply, Pang Yukin has some axes, and his tricks are still a little worse. Every time a plan against a wealthy family is planned, Xiao Ming is planning it alone, and he is basically unable to do it. Then what's so good about him? Xiao Ming asked. There are many ideas. Dr. Sun just said casually, and he was not too impressed with this Sima. It's just that people who come to see a doctor often mention this Sima, saying that a few days ago, this exhibition Sima brought him with him. People set a trap and captured a bunch of rogue bandits, which opened the eyes of the local people. Anything else? Xiao Ming showed an interested look. Dr. Sun said, no, the people said that the Zun Sima was just using some kind of empty scheme, and a group of more than 100 gangsters just didn't dare to break into the village. At that time, there was only Zun Sima who went to the countryside and a few catchers. Xiao Ming has been busy dealing with local nobles during this period of time, and he has neglected a lot of Qingzhou government affairs. He really hadn't heard of this. As for why there are rioters outside Qingzhou City, it's actually very simple. These rioters are all part of the wealthy family. When the Wang family was destroyed, only some of the episodes belonged to the Qingzhou army, and some of them became pirates. After all, it is not surprising that there are occasionally characters like the King of the Mountain in these episodes. Well, it's really good, courageous. Xiao Ming praised, but he was still dubious. Now he has gradually developed a character of doubting first and then proving it. There is no way, he has to doubt everything in his position, or he may not know how to die when he dies. It's one thing to be praised by outsiders, but another thing to see with his own eyes. Without mentioning the matter of Zun Xingcheng, Xiao Ming said to Dr. Sun, how effective is this maggot in treating rotting wounds? For the past 2 days, Dr. Sun has been using the method taught by Xiao Ming. I have to say that the maggots cleaned the rotten flesh of the wounded very cleanly. Now he follows the method Xiao Ming said, using alcohol to sterilize and cover with fresh meat. The method of changing every 3 hours the injured person seems to be showing signs of improvement. His Royal Highness, these wicked ways. No, where did you learn medical skills from? Medical Officer Sun almost said it was a wicked way, and immediately corrected it. In fact, Xiao Ming was also sweating. He was betting that the environment in this era was superior. The mosquitoes had relatively few germs, and the maggots were not dug out of the toilet, but found in a rotten egg. This is a long story. I'll tell you when the time is right. Xiao Ming didn't explain it all. Dr. Sun was very helpless. Xiao Ming didn't say it, he was also helpless. After all, this is the Lord of the 6 states, the dignified Sun. He couldn't force him to say, although he really wanted to do it because this is definitely a breakthrough in medicine for him. However, this king can teach you more methods. Xiao Ming suddenly said, this king has established a medical classification in Bowen College. If Medical Officer Sun is willing to pass on his lifelong learning to the students, this king will teach you. How? Dr. Sun's expression changed again and again. His craft was passed down by his father, and he passed it on to his son, and his son would pass it on to his grandson, but not outsiders, because this is the ability to eat, and it has been the case for generations. Your Highness, I'm afraid this old man is incompetent. Medical Officer Sun politely refused. Xiao Ming was immediately unhappy. In these days, he discovered a very helpless fact. The craft of eating, whether it is medical or snacks, has never been passed down by these people. Basically, it is passed down from generation to generation. It is precisely because of this that these people are very fancy about the succession of a lineage, and they are extremely patriarchal. Because women basically do not go out to make a living, so the craftsmanship is also passed on from men to women. In this way, these people naturally rely on the craftsmanship handed down from their ancestors to make a living, but it also causes an extreme shortage of social resources. The reason why this Medical Officer Sun can become a medical officer is not because of anything else, but because this Medical Officer Sun is also a famous medical family in Qingzhou City, and there is no one else except him in this case. This king is not reluctant, but this king's medical skills will not be hidden. Anyone who goes to Bowen College to study medicine will be taught by this king. And this king believes that after learning, they will not the descendants who lost a son medical officer. Xiao Ming said loudly. Sweat on Sun Medical Officer's forehead suddenly came out. This person in front of him was playing with the wealthy people of the 6 states. How could he, a small medical family, stand up to the Qi King's rectification? But if he really went to Bowen College to teach, it would be against the family law of his ancestors. Seeing Dr. Sun's hesitant expression, Xiao Ming thought to himself that his grace and might had an effect. He just frightened Dr. Sun. He was a human, not a superhuman. He taught Lu Tong and others chemistry, and Chen Qi and others had exhausted his energy in physics at this time. I really can't afford to bring another medical classification. If Medical Officer Sun goes, it will be different. At least he can teach some basic medical knowledge, and he only needs to transcribe the medical knowledge in the technology library for him to study. He didn't expect the level of medical skills in King Zhao to reach the level in a short period of time. He only needed these people to understand some simple surgical knowledge. After all, he didn't want his soldiers to die just because of a small injury. While the two were staring at each other, a green figure entered the hospital, but Luo came over. She walked in front of Xiao Ming, and Fu Er whispered a word to Xiao Ming, and Xiao Ming's expression immediately became strange. Chapter 120 Embarrassment. Different from the tranquility of the past, the gate of Prince Qi's mansion today is very lively at this time. A small sedan chair with a blue embroidered curtain was parked in front of the palace gate, and a woman's cry came from the sedan chair. Outside the sedan chair stood 2 mammoths with fierce faces, scolding themselves. Aster stood at the gate of the palace. Her hands were pinching her slender waist, her eyebrows were upside down, and she had the aura of being one husband and 10,000 husbands. I said, "This girl, you still don't know who is in this sedan chair. When His Royal Highness King Qi and my young lady were in pairs, you didn't know where they were." Mammy swung the handkerchief and looked arrogant. That's right, at this time last year, when did His Highness King Qi go to the sedan chair to carry our young lady over? Humph, you are too bold to stop us. When your highness comes down, take care of your skin, the other mammy said angrily. Aster's pretty face turned pale. Shut up, who are you? How dare you make a noise in front of the palace, and if you dare to talk nonsense, be careful, I will tear your mouth apart. Oh, little girl, you tear one up and let me see it, come on. A mammy put on a rogue face. Aster was furious and said to the servant standing behind her, "Give me a slap." At this moment, a person rode a horse to the palace, but it was Jin Dafu who came back from the mine. Although Jin Dafu is currently in charge of the mining of the mine, he still lives in the palace of King Qi. Every time he comes back, he will return to the palace to see Xiao Ming. When the 2 maids saw Jin Dafu, they were very happy. One of the maids trotted in front of Jin Dafu and rubbed against Jin Dafu. "Steward Jin, you are back." Another nanny immediately said, "Steward Jin, you look at the servant girl of the Qi Wangfu, and now it's too lack of discipline." When he saw the 2 aunties, Jin Dafu became strange. He didn't look as angry as Luo, but had a friendly look. "Isn't this the 2 maids in front of Miss Hongyan?" Jin Dafu said with a smile. When the 2 maids saw how polite Jin Dafu was, the arrogance on their bodies suddenly grew a little bit, and one of the maids said to the sedan chair, "Miss, the housekeeper Jin is here. Now you don't need to pay attention to this evil maid." Luo was even more angry when she heard the words. An hour ago, the sedan chair arrived at the gate of the palace, and the 2 women couldn't help but break in after she came out. These 2 women scolded her for a while, regardless of whether they were green, red, or white. Luo was quite frightened, but she was not afraid of the sky. She blocked the door and refused to let in. At this time she asked, "Steward Jin, what's going on here?" Jin Dafu laughed twice, pulled Aster aside and said, "The girl in this sedan chair is called Hongyan, and she is the former highness's queen. Lu Xiang, you don't care about this matter, wait for His Highness to return, and let His Highness handle it by himself. That is, we servants can't take care of the master's affairs after all." Only then did Aster calm down her anger a little, and with a snort, she turned around and went back to Prince Qi's mansion. But he didn't believe it. Why, Xiao Ming had never mentioned such a relationship in the past 6 months. She is not afraid, even if they are the maids by concubine Zhen's side. Their status is always higher than that of a Qinglao woman. The door of Prince Qi's mansion opened wide, and the 2 maids said happily, "Miss, the door is open, let's go in." At this time, a woman in a red dress got down from the sedan chair. Although she was not very attractive, she also had something attractive. She glanced at the gilded plaque of Prince Qi's mansion, and walked in lightly with lotus steps. Luo did nothing, and Jin Dafu had to lead the woman to the main hall to wait. Not long after, Xiao Ming and Luo returned to the palace. When Luo told him that a woman named Hongyan was looking for him, Xiao Ming's heart almost collapsed. This was a foreign debt left to him by his predecessor. I have no obligation to take over, and I have no feelings for this woman along the way. He only thought about how to get rid of this woman, Your Highness. Entering the palace, the first thing Xiaoming saw was Jin Dafu. After bowing to Xiaoming, Jin Dafu looked at the main hall. Your Highness, this Lady Hongyan is waiting for His Highness to return, Xiaoming said depressedly. Aren't you going to find a reason to drive away? Why did you still bring the palace, His Royal Highness? This. Jin Dafu was speechless for a while. Could it be that he could not feel Xiaoming's pulse when he went out so often? In the past, Xiaoming would always give him an admiring look, frowning his brows. Xiaoming said, "That's it, it's okay. This king will handle it himself." Aster stood beside Jin Dafu, smiling happily. She said, "Your Highness, why bother? I'll have them kick them out." "Yes, get out." Luluo also coaxed while talking. A voice came, "His Royal Highness." There was a sadness in this voice. Xiaoming looked at it. It was his predecessor, Hong Yun. This red cloud is also the top card of King Zhao, with good looks and figure. In a small place like King Zhao, a rotten pear can also quench thirst, not to mention that this pear is not too rotten. So Xiaoming at that time was hanging out with this girl Hongyan all day long. Now to Xiaoming, this memory seems to be a bit of a sense of sight, but no matter what, this is just the concubine of the predecessor Xiaoming, and it was recommended by Wang Shiji. Later, the Hongyan girl went back to save her relatives, and it took more than half a year. Miss Hongyan. Xiaoming almost squeezed these words out of his throat. Hongyan looked at Xiaoming with a smile in his eyes, but this smile was too fake in Xiaoming's opinion, because it was the kind of smile that was made to play on the scene. He has seen this kind of smile a lot in modern times. After half a year, "Your Highness, why do you call me Miss Hongyan?" Hongyan said. Although this girl from Red Cloud was Xiaoming's former acquaintance, she would not take the initiative to run to Xiaoming as soon as she came back, and they were all acting on the spot. The predecessor Xiaoming was just buying some fun with money. To put it a bit harsher, it was just a plaything. After all, Xiaoming at that time was a proper native of the country of Great Yu, and his feudal ideology was deeply rooted. Therefore, Xiaoming has no ideological burden at all, but when he thinks about it this way, he feels strange, and he directly said, "Miss Hongyan came to the mansion in person. There must be something wrong." Hongyan nodded. "I didn't expect that. In more than half a year, the current King Zhao city has become a different person." On the way to Hongyan, he learned about the news that His Royal Highness is now working hard. "The little girl came here today. But there is a secret of the Wang family." "Tell Your Highness, what's the matter?" Xiaoming asked. Hongyan glanced at Jin Dafu, Zuan and the others, and said, "Please move, Your Highness." Aster said, "Be careful, Your Highness." Hongyan chuckled lightly. "Don't worry, this girl, I can't hurt Your Highness, even a weak girl." Chapter 121 Crisis. In the main hall, the atmosphere is a little stagnant. Xiaoming and Hongyan looked at each other for a long while, and Hongyan sighed slightly. "It's only half a year. Why does His Highness treat the slave family like a stranger?" "Miss Hongyan, let's talk about business. Do you still want to talk to me, day and night? Besides, you and the Wang family have always been entangled. Don't you know that you are the king?" Xiaoming said lightly. Hongyan chuckled lightly. "Your Highness is really different from the past. It seems that His Royal Highness has really been holding back for the past 5 years." Hongyan also wondered why a dignified prince would hang out with this royal family. Xiaoming frowned and remained silent. This red cloud was first met by Xiaoming at the Wang family's banquet. That night, Wang Shiji sent this red cloud to Xiaoming's house, and Xiaoming was very happy at that time. It's just that now things are right and wrong. Xiaoming looked back again, and naturally he was a little more wary of this red cloud. Turning around and looking at the peach blossom trees in full bloom outside the main hall, Hongyan continued, "Now that the Wang family is destroyed, the slave family has no scruples. His Royal Highness's body is full of gold, and Hongyan also knows that he is not worthy of entanglement with His Highness. Have a prosperous day." After saying these words, Xiaoming breathed a sigh of relief. It wasn't that he didn't recognize people when he put on his pants, but that it had nothing to do with him when he took off his pants. However, in memory, this Hongyan was a very shrewd person, and now it seems that he is. So if she and Xiaoming were distressed, they would definitely be kicked out, but now taking the secrets of the Wang family to hand them back, it would be a great achievement. "Whatever you want, as long as it's not too much, this king will agree." Xiaoming said. He should help his predecessor pay off the debt. Hongyan thought for a while and said, "I hope Your Highness will redeem the slave family and prepare some money. From now on, His Highness and the slave family will never see each other again." "Well, this is simple." Xiaoming pondered. This king can promise you. Now you can tell what the secret of the Wang family is. Hongai and Lord Erhudin seemed to be weighing what to say. In the end, she said, Wang Chengchao colluded with the Huanchuo department to prepare to attack King Zhao in late autumn and early winter this year. What? Xiao Ming's expression changed greatly when he heard the words. This matter must not be a joke. Hongai said, the slave family was in the Wang family's mansion at the time, and I overheard it through the Wang family's father and son's room. I thought it was just a joke by the Wang family's father and son, but when I returned to King Zhao Huangaian, I learned about the barbarian cavalry. As the father and son of the Wang family said, the barbarian cavalry entered King Zhao through a cave in Kangzhou to explore the way. Xiao Ming's expression became solemn. Only a few people such as Lu Fei knew about the cave in Kangzhou. Crazy ministers and thieves. Xiao Ming slammed his fist on the table. In history, there have been frequent collusion between frontier nobles and foreigners. I didn't expect such a thing to happen on his own fief. Hongai side, although the slave family is a female, but they also know the country and the world. I came here to tell you. I hope that His Royal Highness can play to the court and prepare as soon as possible. Thank you, Miss Hongai. Although the girl is in the dust, she is not allowed to be a man. She knows more righteousness than some men. Xiao Ming chuckled lightly. Hongai shook his head. The slave family is nothing but a girl, and all I want is to be able to live in peace and stability, and I don't want to see the world being ruined in any case. The news of Miss Hongai is very important. This king will ask the housekeeper Jin to redeem Miss Hongai and prepare another 5,000 taels of silver. Xiao Ming said. Hongai nodded, gave Xiao Ming a deep blessing, turned and walked away slowly. Looking at the figure of Hongai leaving, Xiao Ming thought about it. From the beginning, he was puzzled by the barbarian cavalry that appeared in the hinterland of King Zhao. The cave Lu Fei had been to was very hidden, so how could the barbarians know about it? The only explanation was that someone colluded and told the barbarians the news recently. The barbarians suddenly banned the sale of war horses, and now it makes sense. Before the war, the sale of war materials was banned. This is the harbinger of the war, but now that the Wang family has been removed by him, the Huanchuo department has no internal response person, and it is not clear whether the plan will change if this is the grand strategy of the barbarians. I am afraid that regardless of whether the Wang family cooperates, the barbarians will try to attack Kangzhou half a year. It's terrible. Xiao Ming stomped his feet. Barbarians, this is a threat that always hangs on the head of the Great Yu country like a sharp sword. The defeat of several wars has made the civil and military officials of the Great Yu country talk about barbarism. The current day kingdom is no longer an enterprising country in the early days of the founding of the country, but has become a conservative country. For these officials, the only concern is how to maintain the domestic rule of the Dao kingdom, while the threat to the barbarians chooses step back. Paying tribute and ceding land seems to have become a panacea for dealing with conflicts with the barbarians, but the wolf is not enough to feed. But the barbarian is a wolf who cannot be fed. This matter is of great importance and endangers the safety of his fief. Xiao Ming cannot ignore it, and he had to admit the fact that the barbarians had a relative advantage over the Great Yu kingdom in the military. Because of the chaos in the horse administration of the Great Yu kingdom, there were basically no regular cavalry units in the Great Yu kingdom. This also resulted in the fact that the Great Yu kingdom was basically on the defensive and the attack was insufficient. But the barbarians could come and go freely and were very passive. However, in Xiao Ming's view, in every war against the barbarians, the factors of failure are many in a war. Soldiers' training, discipline and will to fight are very important, and now the army of the Great Yu kingdom lacks the will to fight against the barbarians, and the training and discipline are relatively weak. So in the war, when the advantage has been lost, it is even worse. It looks like it's time to start propaganda and create hatred. With his hands behind his back, Xiao Ming slowly walked out of the main hall. Only by letting the people of the fiefs hate the barbarians to the bone can they unite against the barbarians in the future. Otherwise, the people are full of fear of the barbarians and have no will to fight, and his fiefs are still very dangerous. After leaving the main hall, Jin Dafu had already sent Hongai away. He said, "Your Highness, Miss Hongai is gone." Your Highness seems to have really changed. Now this girl is no longer there. Does this king have time to indulge in women's sex now? Hongai said that Wang Chengchao once colluded with the barbarians and planned to attack Kangzhou this autumn. Now we should worry about this. Xiao Ming said sternly. Jin Dafu's face changed suddenly. In his eyes, Xiao Ming saw fear, and he said, "Your Highness, how can this be good? Let's go to the Emperor. The barbarians have always been thieves in the Central Plains. It seems that this it's a comeback again presentation. HMPH, he didn't take care of the king's life 3 years ago, will he take care of it 3 years later? Chapter 122 Defense Strategy. Your Highness, do you mean to deal with the barbarians alone? Jin Dafu looked like he could believe it. Xiao Ming nodded. Yes, this time this king wants to protect his fief by himself. No one can rely on him these days, he can only rely on himself. The affairs of the Wang family, Princess Pingyang's calculations, and King Wei's secret plans, all told Xiao Ming that the wolves around him were looking around, and there was no one to trust. The only thing he could count on was himself. His Royal Highness, this is not a child's play. The Great Yu Kingdom is a powerful country, and it has still ceded land to pay indemnity over the years. Does your Highness expect the land of the 6 states to be able to deal with the barbarians? Jin Dafu continued to persuade. As long as he can remember, the name barbarian has been as terrifying as ghosts. When he was a child, the grandmother in the family used to use barbarians to scare you away. This shows the image of the barbarians in the hearts of the people of Dai. Jin Dafu's reaction was as expected by Xiao Ming. The events 3 years ago left Jin Dafu an indelible memory of terror. At that time, the city of Kangzhou was destroyed, and the iron cavalry of the barbarians poured into the hinterland of the 6 states, burning, killing, looting, and doing everything. On their way to Chang'an, they could see the bodies lying in a pool of blood. Many corpses lost their heads. This is because the barbarians used their heads to record their military exploits, and many barbarians massacred people for military exploits. This memory is very clear in Xiao Ming's mind, which shows how deeply this incident left a deep impression on his predecessor Xiao Ming. It is precisely because of this invasion that the vitality of the 6 states has been greatly damaged, and it has not recovered for 3 years. This king only needs to defend Kangzhou and prevent the barbarians from stepping into this king's fief. At this stage, Xiao Ming can only achieve this level, and it is basically impossible to counterattack the grasslands. Because the current comprehensive strength of King Zhao is not enough to support him to take the initiative to attack a grassland empire whose national strength does not belong to the Great Yu Kingdom. After all, the base of the population is here, the army is limited, the food is limited, and the silver is limited. But can you hold it? Jin Dafu was a little anxious. Your Highness, keep the green hills so that you won't worry about no firewood. Jin Dafu. Xiao Ming suddenly became impatient. This is the fief of this king. Without the fief, this king is nothing. When I return to Chang'an, not to mention the father and the emperor, will the other princes let me live for the rest of my life? This. Jin Dafu stopped talking. Xiao Ming's words were right. Since Dai became a state, each generation of monarchs had many descendants, but few princes could survive. Take the princes of Xiao Wangxun's line as an example. Now there is only one Prince Wei, one Prince Kang, and the other 10 princes all turned to dust. Almost every generation of princes is like this, and now this fate is on Xiao Ming's turn. Old slave understands. Jin Dafu's expression suddenly became firmer. Empress Zhenfei once instructed this old slave to protect His Highness. If His Highness stays in Kangzhou City to resist the barbarians, the old slave will go with His Highness. Well, this is what this king's people should say. Xiao Ming said this time it wasn't that he was stupid and bold, nor was he blindly confident. During this time, he wanted to understand a problem, that he had nowhere to go. If you want to survive, you can only manage your own fiefs carefully, and now the barbarians want to move their own cakes, which is of course not possible. This incident was so sudden that Xiao Ming no longer had any intention of staying in the palace, but went to the governor's palace. At this time, Pang Yukan was talking to a young official. Seeing Xiao Ming coming over, Pang Yukan said, "Your Highness, aren't you discussing medical skills with Dr. Sun? Why are you here? The barbarians will attack Kangzhou at the end of this fall." Jin Dafu also followed, and before Xiao Ming could speak, Jin Dafu hurriedly said. The young man standing beside Pang Yukan chuckled and asked, "Since the barbarians are going to attack Kangzhou, it must be a very secret matter, so why did His Highness know it in advance?" Pang Yukan seemed to mean the same, but remembering something, he said to Xiao Ming, "Your Highness, this is the Zhang Cheng I mentioned to you." Xiao Ming glanced at Zhang Cheng and said, "You are Zhang Cheng. Pang Cheng, she said that you are resourceful and decisive, so why don't you tell me how this king should deal with it? Knowing your enemy and knowing yourself is the only way to be victorious in 100 battles. How did your Highness find out about this news in the first place?" Zhang Cheng asked, neither humble nor arrogant. Looking at Jin Dafu, Xiao Ming brought Huagayan to him and mentioned the matter of the Wang family. Pang Yukan frowned and said, "Your Highness, the words of a Qinglao woman may not come true. Has your Highness been hasty? I'd rather believe it if it exists than if it doesn't. Can Pang Changshi forget what happened to the barbarian cavalry last year? I'm afraid those cavalrymen didn't mean it when they arrived outside King Zhao City, but they came to King Zhao City because they were looking for someone to go the wrong way. Xiao Ming said. Zun Xingcheng said, so now we should send people disguised as caravans to spy on the grasslands and pay close attention to the movements of the barbarians. This is one of them, but what if this is confirmed? Xiao Ming asked again. His Royal Highness should know better than me, and you should guard Kangzhou City to protect the safety of the 6 states. What if this king wants to take back the lost land in the north? Xiao Ming asked. Of course not. You should build a fortress widely and keep the walls clear. This is the so-called technique of building. Zan Xingcheng still looked as usual. Pang Yukin stroked his beard satisfactorily and said, Xingcheng, please explain carefully what this technique is. Zan Xingcheng continued, the most important thing in attacking the grasslands is the food route. At this time, facing the powerful barbarian cavalry, the food route is very dangerous, so we should build a fort every other day, so as to ensure that the baggage can be transported to the fortress. Second, the steppe cavalry is not good at attacking cities, and defending the city is our advantage. The distance between the fortresses is short, so we can quickly support each other. If the barbarians bypass the front fortress and attack Kangzhou, the army in the fortress can be dispatched to cut off the barbarians' food. Dao, stand in an invincible position. Xiao Ming nodded. This Zun Xingcheng really has 2 brushes. The best way to deal with the nomads is to push forward tactics of the fortress, and at the same time, the barbarian cavalry cannot be fed by the strong wall and clearing the wilderness. However, this tactic also requires the Kingzhou army to have enough field capabilities to ensure, otherwise how to advance the fortress. Let's not talk about the technique of building construction, now we still have the ability to attack like this, let's talk about how to defend the city. Xiao Ming said. Zun Xingcheng said, only Cheng Jian, the fire torch. Xiao Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. The torch has already been used in the Great Yu Kingdom. It is basically equivalent to the first generation of artillery, but it shoots stone bullets, and the range is not far. Really, it is not taken seriously at all. On the other hand, Zan Xingcheng proposed the fire cannon defense, which can be said to be a very advanced idea in this era. This fire cannon is the first generation of artillery today, with the capabilities of Xiao Ming Iron and Steel Workshop. Precise guns cannot be made, but there is no problem with earth cannons such as torches. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Analysis. Fire torch? What is this? Pang Yukin showed a puzzled look. He is a civilian and has no understanding of the weapons in the army, so he asked. This torch is the local name for the artillery in the Great Yu Kingdom. Because the original artillery had a variety of strange shapes, the most cylindrical shape was the most common, so it was called the torch in the Great Yu Kingdom. In the world before Xiao Ming, torches were also called fire guns. At that time, the application of firearms began in the Song dynasty. By the Yuan and Ming dynasties, the application of firearms had matured. At the end of the Ming dynasty, the Ming army had already equipped a large number of firearms. It's just that even if equipped with more advanced firearms than the Qing army, the Ming dynasty still embarked on the road of destruction. So Xiao Ming is not the supremacy of weapons, because it is people who use weapons, and talent is the factor that determines the war during this period of time. Xiao Ming has deeply felt that the real core of governance is to allow the people of the fief to gather around him, and when an order is issued, all the people obey, of course. Under this premise, and then equipped with more advanced weapons, such an army will be able to do nothing. This torch, Pang Changshi will soon know what it is. Xiao Ming and Zun Xingcheng looked at each other and suddenly laughed. Then he said, but the name of this torch is too earthy, so let's call it artillery cannon. Zun Xingcheng froze for a moment. The name is quite loud. Zun Xingcheng proposed artillery defense. Naturally, he had some understanding of artillery. Xiao Ming then asked, since Zun Sima mentioned artillery, does he know how to cast artillery? I don't understand this subordinate officer, but the subordinate officer has seen the power of this torch. No, the power of the artillery can be shot at about 300 meters in one shot, injuring the enemy. Zan Xingcheng said. Hearing this, Pang Yukin laughed dumbly, and said, after talking for a long time, you don't know how to make artillery, so how can it be so powerful? Zan Xingcheng suddenly showed embarrassment, but he forgot that this place was not Chang'an. Zun Sima doesn't know, but this king does. Xiao Ming smiled lightly. He just wanted to know if the artillery manufacturing in the Great Yu Kingdom was the same as his time. Since Zan Xingcheng didn't know, he didn't bother to ask. Your Highness knows? Pang Yukin and Zan Xingcheng showed surprise at the same time. Xiaoming nodded. Without a trump card, how could this king dare to speak up and defend Kang Zhao? Zan Xingcheng showed an excited look. If hundreds of artillery pieces are placed on the gate of Kangzhou City, and with proper command, Kangzhou City will be safe and sound. Xiaoming showed a wry smile. Hundreds of artillery pieces are easy to talk about, but how difficult it is. These artillery pieces are not plate armor, and this thing often costs several tons. After all, when the material does not meet the requirements, the gun barrel can only be thickened and thickened, so as to reduce the explosion. Although the iron and steel industry in Kangzhou has now reached a new level, casting artillery is still a difficult technical task. The first problem of producing artillery is the material. Naturally, he is not going to compare it with the guns in the current stage of the Great Yu Kingdom when he wants to produce guns this time. This kind of local guns with a range of 300 meters that makes Zan Xingcheng exclaimed can only be said to be rubbish. Before he could confirm the technological level of the Western, Japanese, and barbarian tribes, he could only use his knowledge to improve the performance of the artillery produced this time as much as possible. But even so, according to his estimation, it can only reach the level of the late Ming Dynasty at most, and its performance is equivalent to the level of red-clothed cannons. There are all kinds of artillery manufacturing methods in the technology library, but it is difficult for a clever woman to cook without rice, because Kangzhou does not have the material and boring machine-cutting technology for further artillery. And a process of exploration is needed. If red-clothed cannons are now produced, whether it is bronze cannon or iron cannon, the only way to produce cannons at this stage can be the casting method, and the casting method requires a cannon mold. This thing is no easier to produce than a cannon. Hundreds? If there are 10 artillery pieces by then, this king is already satisfied. Xiaoming sighed. The casting of this artillery is made from scratch, and everything is difficult at the beginning. It is estimated that this experimental stage will take several months, and the artillery also needs to be manipulated, and the training of this artillery is also a problem. Zan Xingcheng did not refute Xiaoming. He also knew that it would be very difficult for Chang'an's equipment department to produce this artillery, let alone Kangzhou. Without mentioning the artillery, Xiaoming said, "You don't understand this artillery. Do you understand how to build a fort?" This subordinate official is a little more familiar. Zan Xingcheng said to himself. Xiaoming nodded. The ancient scholars were very humble, and a little bit of this is generally proficient. He said, "Well, you go to Kangzhou City during this time to investigate on the spot. How will Kangzhou be transformed when you come back?" The method of city defense is presented. Zan Xingcheng came to Kangzhou thousands of miles to show his ambition and apply what he has learned. Now is the opportunity to show it in front of Xiaoming. He said sternly, "Yes, Your Highness." Pang Yukin nodded slightly and said to Xiaoming, "By the way, Your Highness." The lower official also handed over the disposal of the remnants of the wealthy family to Zan Xingcheng. "So many things are enough for him to be busy? Is that so? It seems that Pang Changshi attaches great importance to you. Tell me what you plan to do with the remnants of this wealthy family." Zan Xingcheng is about the same age as Xiaoming in modern times. Generally speaking, the psychological age of the two is the same. In the face of Pang Yukin, an old elm, he is more willing to get along with people of his age like Zan Xingcheng. His Royal Highness, King Zhao has 100 wastes waiting to be revived. If you make a big move, you will inevitably hurt 1,000 enemies, and you will lose 800. This wealthy family started out as a big family with the same surname. The lower officials thought that the leader of the case was to be killed as a warning, and the first person was assigned to be a slave, and the remaining people with the same surname were in the thousands, tens of thousands, going to other states. As a result, the climate can no longer be formed locally, said Zan Xingcheng. Well, you're right. The main branch of the Sun family has tens of thousands of people, big and small. Sun Yuanzi is dead. These people can no longer live in Kangzhou. They are divided into parts, and these people are distributed to other states. County. In this way, the big clan has become a small clan, and the small clan has become ordinary people, and they will never interact with each other, and there will be no rich clan in the 6 states from now on. After a few simple words, Xiaoming left the governor mansion. This Zan Xingcheng left a good impression on him, but he had to be pulled out for a mule or a horse, and the most important thing for him now is to figure out how to free up the artillery in the shortest possible time. Kangzhou has few soldiers, and he and the barbarians can't fight a one-for-one war, not to mention that there is a wicked king of Wei behind him. Chapter 124 Dilemma. Barbarians may invade in autumn. In addition to Pan Yukin, Lu Fei and other military generals also quickly got the news. His Royal Highness, as long as the equipment and weapons can keep up, it is not a problem to defend Kingzhou City, but until now, only the equipment in the Kingzhou camp has not been obtained. Let's see if you can urge Chen Wenlong. Lu Fei squinted his eyes. Chen Wenlong, his teeth itch with hatred. Chen Wenlong has a calm personality, while Lu Fei has an impatient personality. Naturally, it is not the right way for the two to be together. He said, Xia Aoilu, it is not easy to produce this plate armor. It is not bad to be able to make 1,000 sets of plate armor in a month, but His Royal Highness clearly said that 100 sets can be produced in one day. Are you kidding me? Lu Fei asked with a bandage wrapped around his chest and staring at him. This time, it was Xiaoming's turn to blush. When the hydraulic forging hammer was used in the steel workshop, he was confident that he could produce 100 sets of plate armor a day later. His actual situation slapped him hard in the face, and it was not that his estimated production capacity was wrong, it was because iron ore was simply not available, and now he understood that it was easy to make iron and steel, but mining was not easy. After the shallow ore was dug, the pit became deeper and deeper, and then on rainy days, the pit was filled with rainwater into a pond, and the weather is clear, and the water in the pit must be drained first before mining can continue. At the same time, the deepening of the mine has made it more difficult to transport ore from the mine. And now the iron ore supplied by the 3 iron mines in Jindafu's hands continues to decrease. Coal mines are mentioned at the same time as iron ore, and the same problem is being staged. There was no large-scale production of steel in Kingzhou before, and even in the rainy spring season, there was no shortage of coal briquettes and iron ore. But now, the Iron and Steel Workshop not only produces weapons and armor, bearings for bull-powered overturning cars, but also produces farming implements for civilian use and so on. Chen Wenlong glanced at Xiaoming and said to Lu Fei, His Royal Highness is frowning now, so it can be seen that I didn't lie to you. His Royal Highness, what the hell is going on? If this is the case, there will be at most 8,000 or 9,000 people who can be used after half a year. These soldiers who have only been trained for half a year are not the opponents of the barbarians who are born to write and shoot. Without the benefits of armor, there will inevitably be heavy losses at that time. Xiaoming covered his forehead and sat leaning on the chair. Do you think this king doesn't want to equip the new army with plate armor? In fact, this king is quite helpless. Plate armor still can't keep up with production, and now they have to build artillery. Xiaoming is really one of the top 2 now. It was then that he understood why it was so laborious for a country in ancient times to keep a standing army of 100,000 people. The food, drink and Lazarus were all money for the army, and the armor and other weapons and equipment needed to be maintained. The cavalry is a big spender. A cavalry not only needs to be equipped with 4 horses, but also has a special auxiliary to serve the cavalry. The role of this auxiliary soldier is equivalent to the squire of Western knights, specializing in cavalry equipment and horses, and this war horse is not a fuel-efficient lamp. The forage it eats is very particular, and it must be high-quality forage. It costs a lot of money. The workshop area is a big earner and a big spender. The food and clothing of the slaves in the workshop are all his, not to mention Jindafu's mine. All in all, he earned a lot during this time, but he also spent a lot of money. Most of the money was put into production, but there was a lot of input in farming, such as cattle and tools. Lu Fei was suddenly dumbfounded. Chen Wenlong comforted, Don't worry, Colonel Lu, if the materials are sufficient, this will naturally be the most important thing in the army. That's right, you can train with peace of mind. The king will find a way to deal with the armor and weapons. Xiaoming said. Lu Fei had to give up asking Lu Fei to go back first. Xiaoming said to Chen Wenlong, Now the supply of minerals in Kingzhou is insufficient. It seems that we can only purchase from outside. It's okay, but it's just like this, Your Highness, beware of the slander in the court. Chen Wenlong reminded. Xiaoming frowned. Although he is a vassal king, it does not mean that he can do whatever he wants, and he is still subject to the restraint of the imperial court. This iron ore has always been strictly controlled in the Great Yu Kingdom. Generally speaking, other feudal lords rarely buy iron ore from outside, but only supply it internally, because once it comes to large-scale iron ore purchases, this can only show one problem: this lord is mass-producing weapons and armor. This matter is more sensitive to talk about. There is no ore in the Great Yu Kingdom. The ore of a vassal king's own fief is not enough, and he has to buy it from outside. What is his motive? I know this in my mind. This matter cannot be brought to the court. During this time, you need to balance your production and try your best to meet the needs of the Kingzhou army. Xiaoming sighed. Now that he is still young, he can't be willful, Otherwise, I am afraid that his life will not be guaranteed, and the hard work for more than half a year will be in vain. Yes, Your Highness. Chen Wenlong nodded. Jin Dafu was also in the main hall. He never said a word. After Chen Wenlong left, he said, Your Highness, what should I do about the water in this mine? I will ask the equipment department to prepare a few more sets of bull-powered rollovers for you. Since the mine is temporarily unable to produce, you should focus on the search for minerals, especially wolframite, followed by tin and lead. Xiao Ming said the reason why Xiao Ming was looking for the last two minerals was to prevent the failure of the production of cast iron guns, and finally use bronze guns. He really can't afford to play pure copper cannons. This is real money, and now the whole country of Diu is still using copper coins. Jin Dafu nodded. They respectively explained the three people's matters about dealing with the barbarians, and Xiao Ming personally wrote a matter about the barbarians and sent them to the post station to go to Chang'an, and he went to the equipment department to find Chen Qi to discuss the casting of the artillery. Chang'an at this time, the green willows and peach blossoms in the palace were full of vitality. Empress Zhao was strolling in the back garden with her concubines. Concubine Zhen was following Empress Zhao. In the past 6 months, the concubines in the palace clearly felt that Empress Zhao and concubine Zhen were getting closer. Some smart concubines have already seen the clues, and dare not show any slights to concubine Zhen. A few days ago, King Zhao entered the capital to face the Holy Spirit, and Xiao Wangxun personally went out of the city to meet him to show his respect for King Zhao. If King Zhao hadn't helped him, Xiao Wangxun would not have been able to sit on the throne no matter what, and later the daughter of King Zhao became the current Queen Zhao. Not surprising today, when the crown prince's position is in turmoil, it is self-evident that the king of Zhao has entered the capital, but it can be seen from the prince's sharpness in the court these days that the prince is proud, and this concubine Zhen seems to be more and more valued by the emperor in recent days. But the palace is a well-informed place. What the king of Qi Xiao Ming did to the local nobles in King Zhao has long been rumored in the palace. Chapter 125. Concubine Zhen. Yesterday, many ministers in the imperial court impeached King Qi, and it seems that King Qi's actions in King Zhao are very dissatisfied. While taking a leisurely walk in the garden, Empress Zhao said to concubine Zhen, the harem is a well-informed place, and the concubine who has a good relationship with her has already told her about it. The various decrees of King Zhao and the decrees of the Great Yu Kingdom are quite different. Recently, the news of Xiao Ming targeting the local wealthy family and killing the wealthy family is even more clamorous. Where is the Great Yu Kingdom? The clan has ruled for thousands of years, and it is deeply rooted in the Great Yu Kingdom. Xiao Ming's actions made his other noble families quite dissatisfied. Moreover, the Wang family and the Sun family in King Zhao have also been operating in Chang'an for some time, and the officials in the court have also received money from the Wang family. After all, King Qi is too tall and the emperor is far away. Even if they criticize King Qi in Chang'an, this King Qi is helpless. The concubine also heard about this. It's just that the Wang family assassinated the princess first and the Sun family rebelled, so Ming'er may have to do it. Concubine Zhen defended Xiao Ming. Empress Zhao and concubine Zhen walked in front alone. She looked back at the concubines behind her, and seeing that they were far apart, she said in a solemn voice, "This is only what King Qi said, but the ministers in the court have always been able to deceive the black. Some people say that the king of Qi deliberately framed the Wang family in order to get rid of the wealthy family." Niang Niang, the minister who said this, is really mortifying. Isn't this framing my family, Ming'er? I also asked Niang Niang to be the master of King Qi. Concubine Zhen suddenly paled and wanted to salute Empress Zhao. Empress Zhao immediately supported concubine Zhen, with a gentle expression, and said, "Sister, the minister will not talk nonsense. I am afraid that someone is behind the instigation." Princess Pingyang went to Jinling City after turning around, and then sent people to Chang'an, only to impeach Qi later. King's business. Princess Pingyang, King Wei? Concubine Zhen felt a chill suddenly rise behind her back. Where did my Ming'er provoke them? Both of these people are high-ranking people, and they are extremely favored in front of Xiao Wangxun. But Queen Zhao has always been extremely jealous of King Wei and Princess Yang because in her opinion, this King Wei and Princess Yang are not someone she can control, especially now that King Wei and Princess Yang are very close in Chang'an. The two of them never favored any prince. She tried to win the battle several times. If the two stood by her side, the crown prince's throne would be really stable. But the problem is this. In the battle, the enemy is the friend, and there is no middle faction. He can't figure out these two people, so he takes precautions. The land of King Zhao borders the fief of the king of Wei, and he is the best candidate to prevent the restriction of the King of Wei. Who knows this? Empress Zhao said, seemingly unintentionally. Now that King Wei is the richest in the world, and his army is strong, maybe he has other thoughts. Speaking of this, she suddenly stopped. It's fine for my sister to hear this, but don't talk nonsense. I'm just talking casually, but don't worry, sister. The prince said a lot of good things for King Qi in the court. Concubine Zhen heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Thank you, Empress." "Prince, that's out of the question. The crown prince has always taken a fancy to King Qi, and he had a good relationship with Ming'er when he was in Chang'an. No matter how the two of them are brothers, they should help each other." Queen Zhao chuckled softly. Concubine Zhen has no power, and can enjoy honor in the palace to this day, and she is also a smart person from the very beginning. She knew what Queen Zhao meant, nothing more than to pinch her and let her know how powerful it was, so that Xiaoming could follow the prince closely. It's just that now she doesn't have many choices. Back then, when Xiaoming was sullen and didn't want to make progress, she didn't worry about Xiaoming very much. Now Xiaoming has done many things in Qingzhou, and almost every one of them has been introduced to Chang'an City. Make her sit still. She likes to read books the most on weekdays, and as dynasties change, there are very few princes who can survive in the past. She hoped that Xiaoming would make progress, but it was not that he hoped that Xiaoming would work hard to become a strong vassal king, but to cultivate himself and spend the rest of his life peacefully. But now everything is developing in an unpredictable direction. She has never liked maneuvering, but for Xiaoming, she has to do something for Xiaoming in Chang'an. She can see clearly now that although the emperor is a little dissatisfied with the prince, the position of the prince is still stable, and Queen Zhao's father, King Zhao, supports the prince behind his back. The crown prince's seat will not be a problem for the time being, and now Xiaoming needs time the most, and relying on the crown prince is equivalent to having a backer in Chang'an. Just now Empress Zhao mentioned that they helped Xiaoming speak in the courtroom. It was already a very obvious hint. What Niang said is that the crown prince and Ming'er are like brothers, and they will naturally help each other. Concubine Zhen said slowly with a smile in Queen Zhao's eyes. Concubine Zhen has never clearly supported the prince. Now that King Qi is being criticized in the court, this is an opportunity for her. It was because of her instructing that the prince led the prince's party to absolve Xiaoming in the court, and now she's got her wish in return. She struck while the iron was hot, and continued, "King Qi is not too young, and now he is at the age of marriage. There is a niece in my family named Zharanger, and I will change the RB palace to let her come to the palace. If my sister closes her eyes, I will mention it to the emperor." Mention. If the emperor agrees, this will be a happy event. That's right, my younger sister is worried about this princess. Thanks to the concubine's thoughtful consideration, my sister Ming'er thanked her. Concubine Zhen smiled. Although she was unhappy, she had no other choice at this time. The marriage of the prince is nothing but a marriage of the imperial family. Concubine Zhen sees this clearly. Xiaoming's wife is also destined to be a woman in the prestigious family. Empress Zhao wanted to further win over Xiaoming through marriage, but it was unknown what the emperor thought. With a sigh in her heart, no matter whether their mother and son would like it or not, she is destined to be unable to stay out of this dispute. In the great Yu Kingdom, a group of people were walking, and suddenly a voice, "The emperor is coming," sounded not far away. The concubines turned to the place where the voice came and saluted, and Zhao Wengxun was walking towards this direction. "Queen, concubine Ai, what are you talking about, so happy?" Zhao Wengxun seemed to be in a good mood today. With a smile on his face, Empress Zhao smiled and said, reporting to the emperor, "Sister Zhen and I were just talking about choosing a concubine for King Qi." "Choose a concubine for King Qi." Zhao Wengxun's expression did not change, but a strange look flashed in his eyes. He said, "So, the queen already has a candidate." "Exactly. The concubine's niece, Zharanger, is well informed and looks very handsome. I think she is a good match for King Qi." Queen Zhao said. Zhao Wengxun showed such an expression as expected. He said, "Zharanger, I have seen it. It is really good, but there is no need to rush the marriage of King Qi. I have my own arrangements." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.